Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom is back from
Hey, Crudy.
a little, 3-4 day vacation.
Oh, man.
Little getaway.
It was fantastic. Headed out of town on the road trip with the family. Actually didn't bring my computer. Had a great time with the family, catching up. But, man, I've been missing being on the air with you, Crudy. So much going on in this state, in this country. I'm excited for today.
Buddy, you've been missing the Trump trashing and the Walker bashing. There'll be plenty of both today. Let's set the stage a little bit. We've got some fine guests. The minority leader of the state assembly, currently the minority leader. I'm implying he could be the speaker someday soon. State Rep Gordon Hentz, he's a fine Dem. He's a friend of ours. He joins us at 4:30. Maybe we'll talk special elections and perhaps other topics. Also, Lenny's back. Crazy Lenny.
Yeah.
You know what? I personally think Lenny's a little hurt.
Why is that?
Donald Trump stealing all his crazy thunder.
No, man, there's only one crazy Lenny.
So we'll talk to Crazy Lenny. He'll help us get the happy hour fired up today. And Christine Neumann-Ortiz, our friend, Executive Director, Voces de la Frontera. We're going to talk about what? What is Trump's newest proposition, Dom?
Well, the census, Kurt, you got to put your citizenship up on the census. We'll see how that goes. Apparently, a lot of the blue state AGs not happy with that. We'll get Christine Neumann-Ortiz's take on that as well.
But let's talk about perhaps not the most important story of the day. I mean, hell, it's not porn star talk.
I missed all the porn star talk, man.
I suspect there'll be more porn star talk. Not on today's show.
Did you cover it well yesterday without me, Crudy?
Almost as well as that dress that never quite made it to the cleaners, Don.
Yeah. It's funny how that happens.
More rumors about the Stormy dress.
And I saw like a CD or a DVD in a safety deposit box as well. But okay, we're not going there today, I guess.
Old school. I was going to say others might be well suited to use a safety deposit box with their private digital information.
Right. Never heard of the cloud?
I'm asking you, man.
Yeah, stay out of the library, Crudy.
Let's talk about Trump.
All right, let's do it.
Let's do a little Trump trashing. Do you know Donald Trump is having a really hard time finding counsel?
I've heard that, but I'm wondering why that is. It would be such an honor, I'm also told, to serve this president.
Dominic, he has, offered like 6 jobs to high-profile lawyers just in the last week or so.
And they all washing their hair?
Turned down by all of them. Apparently lots and lots of conflicts.
Yeah.
Or tangles, as the case may be.
It's not you, it's me.
Something like that. I mean, he's going to be moving on to personal injury attorneys here to represent him in the Russian collusion.
Come on, the way he's going, it's going to be Judge Napolitano from Fox News pretty soon.
Yes. Let's not forget Judge Janine Pirro.
Yes.
I mean, he's down to TV attorneys and lawyers pretty soon. I mean, he asked him, what about Perry Mason? Perry Mason, I hear he's really good.
Judge Wapner passed away. He can't do it.
Andy Griffith? Didn't he?
Just one more thing.
He is moving on to the LA law, guys. Corbin Burnson, is he licensed at the bar?
We need to go to a bar.
So, why is that important? Well, everyone deserves proper representation.
Come on, man. He's going to be getting like a public defender pretty soon, the rate he's going.
But you would have to claim indigence. He ain't broke, supposedly. He's just, what? No one wants to represent him.
A very bad client.
That's a different thing. I've heard rumors, Dom. I've seen rumors. You know, I mean, we've seen stories out there that Donald Trump stiffs all his contractors. Is it possible that Donald Trump doesn't pay his lawyers?
Hell, man, Donald Trump's lawyers pay the bills for him. Who would want that job? Hey, you can come represent the president of the United States who's probably engaged in some treasonous behavior. And for that, you, out of your own pocket or your HELOC, will get to pay, whatever he deems fit. Who wouldn't want that job?
You know, when I call my really expensive FCC attorneys, they're like $450 an hour, Dom.
They're paying you $450 an hour?
No, other way around.
Oh.
But at least they allow me to write those checks.
Yeah.
Aaron Blake at the Post. Is Trump too much of a perjury risk for potential lawyers? ?
Yes.
That and other possibilities. Well, I just think he stiffs them. Let's see Aaron Blake's opinion. A New York Times story about President Trump's failure to fill out his legal team includes this very interesting section about Trump's recently departed personal attorney, John Dowd. One reason Mr. Dowd quit was that, against his advice, Mr. Trump was insistent that he wanted to answer questions under oath from special counsel Robert Mueller.
I got this.
Believing that it would help clear him. Mr. Dowd had concluded that there was no upside and that the president, who often does not tell the truth, could increase his legal exposure if his answers were not accurate. Now back to Blake's writing. This is all very neutrally and cautiously put, but the more simply stated upshot is this. Dowd was worried Trump was about to perjure himself. Whether he left specifically because of that or more generally, just because Trump wouldn't listen to him, is kind of beside the point. Dowd apparently had no faith in what would happen if he and when Trump talks to Mueller. Could that be part of the reason Trump is struggling so much to fill out his legal team? There seems to be something going on given Trump's fruitless entreaties to lawyers, including Emmett Flood, Joseph DiGenovo, Victoria Tonsig, Ted Olson, and most recently, Dan K. Webb. Below, let's entertain some possibilities. Now I'm going to ask for your help here. There are really conflicts. Is that the answer, Dom?
This is the reason cited for DiGenovo's and Tensing's aborted hires, along with Olson and Webb deciding not to work for Trump. They were unable to take on the representation due to business conflicts, Webb's firm, Winston & Strawn, said in a statement. However, they consider the opportunity to represent the president to be the highest honor.
Bigliest honor.
And they sincerely regret that they cannot do so. And back to Aaron Blake, and maybe that's true, but it's also somewhat curious.
How so, Dom?
It seems an odd coincidence that Trump's legal team just happens to keep reaching out to lawyers who wind up having conflicts. Apparently before doing any basic Googling, ? DiGenova and Tenzing, for example, were widely known to be representing another figure in the Russian investigation, Mark Corallo, a former spokesman for Trump's legal team. And while Corallo has been cited as the reason they couldn't represent Trump, Corallo told the Los Angeles Times that he had waived any conflict claims. There was no conflicts as I could see them, he said. Similarly, we don't know exactly which clients constitute Olson's and Webb's supposed conflicts.
Well, I'm going to take number 2 here, Dom. Number 2, working for Trump is thankless.
Yes.
I know some other ass employers like that. Don't you, Brian? You know some. At least one. Olson got at this in an interview Monday on MSNBC. I think, here's a quote, Dom. I think everybody would agree this is turmoil. It's chaos. It's confusion. It's not a good thing for anybody, he said. He was talking about the White House more broadly rather than Trump's legal team. But Trump's legal drama is really just an extension of his administrative drama. Mm-hmm. And the fact that a guy who just turned Trump down was saying this probably shouldn't escape the White House notice. And what lawyer wants to put up with that ? It's one thing to represent the President of the United States. It's another to represent someone who doesn't take advice, tweets on a whim, and has proven he may wind up publicly undermining or even firing you.
Yeah, but Crudy, if you are Trump's lawyer, perhaps you may get the privilege of tweeting for him. Right? Isn't that what Dowd said he did?
One guy claimed it one time. The one time I take over Trump's Twitter stream and look at how I went and stuck my foot in my mouth.
And finally, Crudy, number 3, they see what's potentially over the horizon, and it's bad. Even if it's not necessarily the risk of perjury, perhaps all these lawyers see Trump's legal situation and want no part of it. They see all the times he's pushed the envelope when it comes to potential obstruction of justice. They've seen Donald Trump Jr. take a meeting with a Russian lawyer promising dirt on Hillary Clinton. They've seen Paul Manafort, Rick Gates, and others being leveraged into possibly cooperating against the president's interests. The lawyer who joins Trump's team will have the highest honor of representing the president, but also risk being a part of a team that couldn't save a president. And if they truly believe Trump might perjure himself, as Dowd apparently does, why be the person who joined the case right before the whole thing went up in flames? Dowd isn't even the only member of Trump's legal team to worry about the prospect of perjury. White House lawyer Ty Cobb, a couple months ago, publicly said he hoped the Mueller interview wouldn't become a perjury trap. Clearly, Trump's existing lawyers are worried about it, and so apparently should anybody else who takes him on as a client. Good luck with that, folks.
Harry Hamlin, he was very handsome. I hear Trump likes to pick employees by good looks.
Yeah, well.
You remember him on the LA Law.
They were on TV, and he loves, the TVs.
You know who I think Trump probably will need to survive this? Johnny Cochran.
Didn't Johnny pass away? Johnny's not here anymore.
Well, let's pretend he was alive. I mean, this man needs some serious legal counsel. Dom, what comes to mind is if the condom does not fit, you must acquit.
But he doesn't wear a condom, Crudy.
We are the Devil's Advocates. Dom's back.
Yeah.
And you can join us on the phones, taking your legal advice for the president.
What? Yeah.
At 844-967-2789. It is the party, the political party text or phone line. Once again, 844-96-PARTY. You're listening to the Wisconsin Resistance Radio Network. I almost said our legal network for Trump representation. 1510 a.m., 1580 a.m., Columbus, Madison, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Come back with us.
I'm not in the job of having evidence. That's what investigations are for.
How could you possibly misjudge this?
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm just a caveman.
We have to bring back law and order.
Wisconsin Republican Attorney General Brad Schimmel claims he will further investigate the investigators of the John Doe 2 investigation because it was all a partisan witch hunt. Wisconsin State Rep Chris Taylor said this.
There is absolutely no concern expressed by this Attorney General or these Republican legislators about the underlying criminal conduct that this corruption investigation revealed. Scott Walker was breaking laws.
And Brad Schimmel fails to acknowledge the 6 criminal convictions, 4 felonies on the Scott Walker John Doe 1. Was that also a partisan witch hunt?
One newspaper has done a good job. It's a national paper, the Wall Street Journal.
And AG Schimmel filed an embarrassing hack partisan bull report where he's still looking for the leaker. Get a clue. Wasn't it Eric O'Keefe from Wisconsin Club for Growth?
Well, I was born to do this.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I'm not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more. It's a no-brainer. I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Dom and Crude special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I'm Glendale Mayor Brian Kennedy, running for re-election in April. You can learn more about my campaign at kennedyforglendalemayor.com. I'm joined today by my friend Matt Flynn, former state Democratic Party chair and candidate for governor. Matt, why are you running for governor?
We used to have honest government, clean water, and high wages in this state. Now under Walker, we have corrupt government, dirty water, and low wages. I'm going to change that.
You can vote for Brian Kennedy for mayor on April 3rd in Glendale and Matt Flynn for governor in the Democratic primary on August 14th. Paid for by Kennedy for Glendale.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty 608-284-9311 or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Tune in to The Resistance, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next is the Stephanie Miller Show from 9 to 11. Then from 11 to 2, it's the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's 414 Wisconsin. Then from 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Mandatory listening. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, also streaming on YouTube and Facebook. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, and you can text or call us on the party line 844-967-2789.
Dominic, you just took note of a text.
We did. We got a text. I don't have a name here, but this just in, President Trump has tweeted out about an addition to his legal team, Crudy. Apparently, our caller texter says Lionel Huntz has been offered the top position in the Russia investigation. Now, I could not confirm that on Trump's Twitter feed.
Dom, you know, I often have called you for advice. I won't say good advice, but advice.
Well, you got to clarify if you want good advice.
Well, that's what friends do. You seek advice, and if you can't afford an attorney for every question you have, you know, you put your head and you scratch it and you think, what buddy might have gone through this before? And so I often call you, and Dominic, it might surprise you. Donald Trump, you know, media star that he was, friendly to, you know, the powerful, has yet to reach out to Howard Stern for his advice on how to govern, apparently, at least according to Howard Stern today. Now, Stern does have some advice. Judy Kurtz, you remember the Stern movie, right?
I do.
WTTN, 1580 AM, WRRD, 1510 AM. Anyways, The Hill, Judy Kurtz. Howard Stern has some advice for President Trump. Get the F out of the White House. A direct quote here, Dom. I was watching the news. They said that the president calls his friends and asks advice, Stern said on his Sirius FM radio show on Tuesday, following a discussion about adult film star Stormy Daniels' allegations that she had an affair with Trump. Back to the quote. He's never once called me and asked for advice, Stern lamented. Which kind of got me a little upset.
Yeah, man.
As a New York real estate mogul, Trump was a frequent guest on Stern's radio show where he dished on everything from celebrities to his sex life. While the 64-year-old former America's Got Talent judge, I'm like, Trump's like he's 70, but we're talking about Stern, I guess, has insisted that he's not an insider when it comes to Trump. He's had a personal relationship with the president and called him a friend. And here's a quote. Well, maybe he's just not thinking that you had good advice. Yeah, I know what that's like. That was asked by Stern's co-host, Robin Quivers. Yeah, probably not, Stern replied. My advice would be like, get the F out of there, man. What do you need that for? Stern exclaimed. Go back to Mar-a-Lago and hang. Stern says Trump should simply pack it in and hand things over to Vice President Pence.
Oh, no, just give it over to Pence. Let him do his thing. Stern predicted last year that Trump would regret becoming president. 70-year-old guy who's made so much money. He's made billions of dollars. That he has his own helicopter, his own airplane. He's got a hot wife. He's got fame from a #1 television show, Stern said last May. He can walk around Mar-a-Lago, which is like any palace, better than the effing White House. And then when he went out on the campaign trail and he started to win, it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be president. And all these crowds love me and it's going to be fun, Stern told his listeners. No effing idea of the S life he was going to have. I agree with Howard Stern. Trump, pack it in. Let me begin. Just move out, man. You won. Move along. You have no sense of duty. Just let Pence do his thing. You got the money. You proved everybody wrong. And you can, walk away on top.
But I think that Trump believes that somehow he's invincible from legal prosecution as long as he's the president. So Trump is almost got to stay president by default because otherwise he's probably subject to almost immediate indictment.
Oh, another term. Another 4 years.
He might throw out all, term limits? He's talked about that, right? Well, it's not because he's going to want to serve, but because he has to serve.
He doesn't want to be like the Chinese, have serving for life. He just doesn't want to go to jail.
Well, because the next stop, he might be serving for life over at the Club Fed. Come back with us, more Devil's Advocates. We're going to start a big debate. It is time to repeal the Second Amendment.
What?
Come back with us.
I loved my previous life. I had so many things going.
I'm a retired school psychologist, and helping people was my thing. After my stroke, when Meals on Wheels started, I was on the other end of the stick, so to speak. My name is Julius Gaines, creative writer, poet, photographer.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that...
Well, you are listening to Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Ooh, I just felt a trickle down. No, I don't recall doing it.
Hello, I'm Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. In 1903, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters was founded, and our local union was founded in 1935 here in Milwaukee. During the last 115 years, the principles and values for the Teamsters Union have made many improvements for working families, creating a pathway to the American middle class. Teamsters have assisted families and communities in times of need. Currently, our active and retired membership are collectively working to benefit working families across this nation for retirement security and addressing long-term social needs here in Madison, Wisconsin, and in Washington, D.C. American workers do have a voice in the workplace. Let Teamsters Local 200 be part of that action plan for you. For more information, please visit us on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or give us a call at 414-771-6363. teamsterslocal200.com or 414-771-6363.
Whoa. The moment my son saw a redwood tree.
It's huge!
Is the moment I knew that for him,
You can't even see the top of that thing.
even the sky has no limit.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. Your moment is out there. Find it at discovertheforest.org.
Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Saturdays for Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk with Dr. Tim Slecker, 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the voice of the voiceless, champion of the working class. Earl Ingram's Saturday show is live from 12 to 3 p.m. Then Right Meets Left with the Joel and Joe Costa Show. Republican State Rep Joel Clayfish and Democratic State Rep Joe Costa Zamaripa go toe-to-toe from 3 to 4. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The two candidates for Wisconsin's Supreme Court will face off in 3 debates this week, including one on Friday at 7 p.m. that will be broadcast live on Wisconsin Public Television and Wisconsin Public Radio. Election Day is 1 week from today. On the ballot is a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court and a referendum question that would eliminate the state treasurer. Make sure you are registered to vote and make sure you know where your polling place is. To find out if you're registered and where your polling place is, go to myvote.wi.gov. And you can see a free screening of the film called Gerrymandering about the redistricting battles this evening at 6 p.m. at the Bayview Public Library. Outside today, clearing skies. Overnight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels.
60% of the time, they're right every time. Dom and Cruz are the devil's advocates.
I'm happy. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dom, we are going to debate the repeal of the Second Amendment, but there was one other topic we want to get to, and it includes the words Stormy and Daniels. So let's start here, and then we'll turn to debating. You know, dessert before the meal, if you will, Dom.
Well, you never know, man. Wear the fancy clothes, use the nice plates, and eat dessert first.
Buddy, why don't you start us off? I've been missing you, pal. I'm going to let you go first.
Go. From the Washington Post, Max Boot, Stormy Daniels is a sideshow. Let's focus on the real Trump scandals. To judge by the blockbuster ratings for 60 Minutes, I must be one of the few politically sentient adults to have missed the Stormy Daniels interview on Sunday night.
I can take it from here.
Just as I earlier missed Karen McDougal's high-rated interview on CNN. I missed that one too, Crudy.
I saw the CNN.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I saw them both.
This was partly because I was having dinner with my family at a restaurant that was mercifully TV-free, but it's also because I just don't care what these women have to say about their alleged flings with President Trump. Admittedly, it's fun to see liberals and conservatives compete in the hypocrisy Olympics. Liberals who were also understanding of Bill Clinton's relationship with a White House intern are now gleefully attacking Trump for his purported relationships with a porn star and a Playboy playmate. Conservatives who claimed that Clinton was a second coming of Beelzebub are now happy to give Trump a mulligan for his moral infractions. But who at the end of the day really cares? Voters knew what kind of man Trump was when they elected him. Thrice married, he has made no secret of his infidelities. He is said to have loved the New York Post article in which his mistress turned second wife Marla Maples claimed, "Best sex I ever had."
Of course, she was a virgin before that.
A month before the 2016 election, voters were treated to the Access Hollywood tape on which Trump bragged about how he moved very heavily on a married woman, and also about how, as a star, he was allowed to grab women by the
Trump's very lack of pretensions to morality render him bulletproof against charges of immorality.
An immoral man wouldn't take him furniture shopping, Dom.
Yeah, that's the clincher right there, the furniture shopping. You know, that's a sexy ottoman. Attempts to prove that Trump violated campaign finance laws by having his lawyer pay off Stormy Daniels are likely to prove no more successful than a similar case against John Edwards involving his pregnant mistress. It will probably be impossible to link Trump to the unidentified man who Daniels says threatened her.
It was Eric Trump.
Focusing on Trump's sexual misconduct is, in fact, likely to backfire just as it did with Bill Clinton. The sordid details of Clinton's assignations with Monica Lewinsky titillated the public, but it also made it easy for Democrats to claim the whole scandal was simply about sex rather than high crimes and misdemeanors. I hope that's a trap that Trump critics avoid today. Instead of focusing on who got spanked with what, let's focus on the real scandals. There are so many of them that you need a scorecard to keep them straight, Crudy.
Well, let me take over from here then. Let's talk about the alleged collusion between the Trump campaign and Russian-linked figures. The two sides had at least 70 publicly reported contacts in 2016.
No collusion.
70, Dom. That's
7-0.
That's more than Trump had porn star meetings at the bungalow at the, what, Hollywood Hilton?
We don't know that that's true.
Well, that's true.
Potentially.
But 70 Sergey meetings, that's a lot. The two sides had at least 70 publicly reported contacts in 2016, and two Trump aides have pled guilty to lying to the FBI about those communications. If there is an innocent explanation, what could it possibly be? Let's talk about Trump's assault on the rule of law. Trump fired FBI Director James B. Comey in order to stop the investigation of the Russia thing, and came close to firing Special Counsel Robert S. Mueller III. I'd say that's a Good Friday sort of deal, Dom. And Attorney General Jeff Sessions for the same reasons. More recently, former FBI Director Andrew McCabe was vilified by Trump and fired a day before he would be eligible to receive his pension. Yeah. The public explanation is that McCabe misled investigators about his contacts with the press, but he denies the charge and says he was sacked, and here's the quote, because of the role I played and the actions I took and the events I witnessed in the aftermath of the firing of James Comey, end quote. Now Trump is stepping up his false and malicious attacks on Mueller, raising concerns that he will try to fire the special counsel, sometime between here and the Easter ham. Mark a calendar. This week. This is the week.
This week.
Yeah, he's got no legal counsel to tell him not to do it otherwise. I mean, he's down to the one guy.
Even if he did, you think that would stop him?
Trump?
That's why he has no legal counsel, but go ahead.
Thereby triggering the biggest constitutional crisis since Watergate. Let's talk about Trump's unwillingness to divest himself of his business holdings or to release his tax returns. What is he hiding? Are he and his family benefiting financially from the presidency? Question mark.
Yes.
Answer, hell yes.
Yes.
Do they have financial links to the Kremlin or other sordid sources of cash?
Yes.
Absolutely. Our little side notes. I read on. Let's talk about his son-in-law, Jared Kushner's failure to win a top-level security clearance after reports about his conflicts of interest. The Post has reported that officials in the United Arab Emirates, China, Israel, and Mexico discussed how they could manipulate Kushner by taking advantage of his complex business arrangements, financial difficulties, and lack of foreign policy experience, while the New York Times has reported that Kushner's family company won hundreds of millions of dollars in financing from financiers that he met with at the White House. Let's talk about the president's pathological dishonesty. The Post reports that Trump makes an average of 6 false or misleading statements a day. That's more than you, Dom.
Come on.
Among the most recent statements, Trump denied that he was going to fire National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster or shake up his legal team before doing just that. There are plenty of other Trump transgressions to discuss, too. The more time we spend discussing Trump's dalliances with women who remind him of his daughter,
Ew.
the less time we spend on genuine scandals that have the potential to end his presidency. Don't fall for the clickbait.
Max Boot from the Washington Post.
Excellent piece. Very little of it was about Stormy either, Don.
But can't we do it all? I mean,
can't we have the sordid,
we have
stormy
3 hours
details
a day to discuss politics, life, and philosophy on this show, Crudy? We got plenty of time to address all of it.
Stormy Daniels coming to Wisconsin June 8th and 9th on the Make America Horny Again tour. Dom, I would really feel like our job as journalists, broadcasters would be complete.
Investigative journalists.
If we can, perhaps have Stormy come on this fine program.
Well, all we can do is try.
Other than that, we'd settle for a lap dance.
844-967-2789 if you want to join this conversation. I get the sentiment, and I don't disagree. And I think one of the reasons
you're all down for a lap dance,
we have Trump as president right now is because the national media and, of course, the consumers of media were just enthralled. I mean, the big networks were pumping Trump out 24/7 because people wanted to see it.
From my old news days when I was in the newsroom, you know what the old word of mouth statement?
If it bleeds, it leads.
Yes.
Yeah, you taught me that.
Well, Trump is like a giant car wreck on the road in slow motion, and you're watching it, and you're thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And you got to watch. But at some point, it becomes old hat. And I think at some point, the show will get to be old hat. The ratings will decline, Dom. In the meantime, the biggest rating winner in America, Stormy.
Guys, breaking news. There is a podium that is empty, and Trump may or may not speak at it within the next hour. We need to show that and talk about it for at least another hour or so.
Breaking news.
Breaking news is an empty podium.
Breaking news
and
on the
Trump may or
Chiron.
may not speak at it. That was the entire election.
And again, so I think
I thought you meant today. I'm like, are we going to go to the Trump
Exactly
podium?
my point. Thank you so much.
He fell right into it. In some regards,
You didn't know who Lionel Hutz was.
We are to blame in some regards as not just as investigative reporters and broadcasters, but as consumers of news. I mean, these are things that we find titillating and interesting. It's a lot more sexy than perhaps Jared Kushner getting, $500 or his company getting $500 million in loans from a couple of different organizations after meeting with them in the White House. Now, apparently today, the White House Ethics Office, they're investigating that, Curtis, so we can put that one on the back burner. But, those financial things and, the thought of, meetings, 70 meetings with Russian interests, well, I mean, those are interesting, but it's not sex. And we in this country, we love us some sex.
I'm sorry. I had totally lost myself to my imagination. I was thinking about Stormy.
See, this is the problem. This is what I'm talking about. Brian, maybe we should just go to break and come back with an argument, a discussion of the Second Amendment. Maybe that one will be sexy. Maybe people want to pay attention to that. I was in Chicago during the March for Our Lives. I was participating in that.
You marched?
I was at the rally. I did not march. It took a little too long at the rally. But no, I did.
Kind of like Trump's inauguration. It's been 8 minutes. Let's go, Crudy.
Gotta go. So this is certainly something that a lot of people are interested in, and it's not sex, but hell, as you mentioned, Crudy, if it bleeds, it leads. So it's secondary.
Now you got me thinking about Trump at the debates with Megyn Kelly.
Yeah, right. Blood coming out of her eyes or whatever.
You know what I and Donald Trump have in common?
Little hands.
Oh, I was going to say, I find his daughter quite sexy as well.
Yeah.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocate, sexiest radio show ever.
I'm not a fan of hers, man. I don't know why you think that. I mean, that's Trump's daughter, for crying out loud. Ew. Gary.
I'm just objectifying her, like Trump does.
You're just being very presidential.
I'm just a red-blooded American Trump-loving man. Come back. Let's get in a fight about guns. 844-967-2789. Let's repeal the Second Amendment.
I moved on her very heavily. In fact, I took her out furniture shopping.
You could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
But there's been no collusion, no obstruction, and virtually everybody agrees to that.
He said that you were being tough on the negotiations, but if they could get a little help and close the deal fast, it'd be good for the family.
We'd like to have Russia's help. Very important.
I can handle things. I'm smart.
I'm loving it.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Hi, Resistance Radio listeners. This is Kim Schrader, the president of the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association. We are the 4,600 educators who make Milwaukee's public education system possible. MTA members are the guardians of public education because every single day we are fighting to strengthen and protect public schools our students deserve. MTA educators are leading the fight in Milwaukee public schools for smaller class sizes, more recess, physical education, art, and music opportunities for every child in MPS. MTA educators are the champions for healthier school meals, positive discipline practices, equitable schools, and schools that partner with parents. MTA members are the guardians of public education, and we are proud to teach all children, regardless of their zip code. To learn more, follow us on Facebook at the Milwaukee Teachers Education Association.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You've messed up your daughter's haircut. Do you A, get spiritual?
Mom, where's the mirror?
Beauty is within. Oh.
B, find the positives?
Less time blow drying, more time texting?
Or C, show empathy?
Mom, you really don't have to.
Twinsies!
I kinda love it. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on adoption, visit adoptuskids.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Brad Saug, owner of Zero Res Madison Carpet Cleaning. Zero Res is the best new technology in carpet cleaning. We have a patented process using empowered water, a high-tech process in which we force the water to act like soap. It doesn't want to stay in that state. It's jacked up and it's angry and it wants to hit the dirt and then it neutralizes. When we're done, all that's left in your carpet is just light moisture. In the end, you get the cleanest, greenest, healthiest carpet cleaning available. Call us at 848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean.
My name is Adam Holmes, and I'm proud to be union.
Adam, you're Director of Training for Painters District Council 7. What do you do?
I'm making sure that we're investing in our members. We're providing the safest and best trained painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and trade show workers in the industry, and we also do that at no cost to the taxpayers.
Why hire unions?
Because it costs less to be safe. We keep the contractor on the right side of OSHA and help keep the workmen's comp rates affordable. Join us, Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 7.
Tweens have mastered the art of tuning out. Jen, there's a spider in the car. We're turning your room into a home gym. See? Nothing. But some messages need to get through. Like making sure they're buckled up the whole ride, every time. Do whatever it takes to make your child listen. Jen, I friended your boyfriend.
Wait, what?
Buckle up, sweetie.
Never give up until they buckle up. Learn more at safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
We've got U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. Ron, in all seriousness, if this was Barack Obama, you'd be screaming, "Stormy, stormy, stormy," from the rooftops.
You're too young to understand this excuse. This would be the Sergeant Schultz answer, "I know nothing."
But as the chair of the HISCAC, sir, Homeland Security Governmental Affairs Committee, you could get to the bottom of this, could you not, Ron?
I see nothing. I know nothing.
Making radio great again.
I'm your huckleberry.
Warning, listening to the Devil's Advocates may expose you to opposing views.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Also streaming live on the YouTubes and the Facebooks, on Twitter at Devil Radio. And you can call us or text us on the party line, 844-967-2789.
Just try not to fooled, Dominic.
Don't fool me, man.
The humor lost on you. You got T-bowed by a little Lionel Hutz Simpsons humor.
Hey, man, I was looking. No, I
you were looking on Trump's Twitter stream.
I did.
Because you thought it might be possible.
I thought, well, I didn't recognize the name, and I'm not a huge Simpsons fan. I haven't watched The Simpsons since Archer and Family Guy came out.
Archer? What the hell's that?
Yeah, see? Shut your mouth.
Yeah, you're super cool. John Paul Stevens repealed the Second Amendment. Former U.S. Supreme Court Justice retired. This op-ed published at the New York Times today. Rarely in my lifetime have I seen the type of civic engagement school children and their supporters demonstrated in Washington and other major cities throughout the country this past Saturday. These demonstrations demand our respect. They revealed the broad public support for legislation to minimize the risk of mass killings of school children and others in our society. That support is a clear sign to lawmakers to enact legislation prohibiting civilian ownership of semi-automatic weapons, increasing the minimum age to buy a gun from 18 to 21, and establishing more comprehensive background checks on all purchasers of firearms. But the demonstrators should seek more effective and more lasting reform. They should demand a repeal of the Second Amendment. Concerned that a national standing army might pose a threat to the security of separate states led to the adoption of that amendment, which provided that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Today, that concern is a relic of the 18th century, Dom. See, I'm picking on you here because I know you don't agree, but you should. Ha! For over 200 years after the adoption of the Second Amendment, it was uniformly understood as not placing any limit on either federal or state authority to enact gun control legislation. In 1939, the Supreme Court unanimously held that Congress could prohibit the possession of a sawed-off shotgun because that weapon had no reasonable relation to the preservation or efficiency of a well-regulated militia. During the years when Warren Burger was our Chief Justice from 69 to 86, no judge, federal or state, as far as I am aware, expressed any doubt to the limited coverage of that amendment when organizations like the NRA disagreed with that position and began their campaign claiming that the federal regulation of firearms curtailed Second Amendment rights. Chief Justice Burger publicly characterized the NRA as perpetrating, and here's a quote, Tom, one of the greatest pieces of fraud, I repeat the word fraud, on the American people, public by special interest groups that I have ever seen in my lifetime. In 2008, the Supreme Court overturned Chief Justice Burger's and others' long-settled understanding of the Second Amendment's limited reach by ruling in the District of Columbia v. Heller that there was the individual right to bear arms. I was among the 4 dissenters. That decision, which I remain convinced was wrong and certainly was debatable, has provided the NRA with a propaganda weapon of immense power. Overturning that decision via a constitutional amendment to get rid of the Second Amendment would be a simple and would do more to weaken the NRA's ability to stymie legislative debate and block constructive gun control legislation than any other available option. That simple but dramatic action would move Saturday's marchers closer to their objective than any other possible reform. It would eliminate the only legal rule that protects sellers of firearms in the United States, unlike every other market in the world. It would make our school children safer than they have been since 2008 and honor the memories of the many, indeed far too many, victims of recent gun violence. John Paul Stevens is a retired Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court, and a wise man, I would add that.
I absolutely disagree, Crudy. Pardon me, and Aaron Blake will help me articulate this from the Washington Post. Also today, one of the biggest threats to the recovery of the Democratic Party these days is overreach. Having seen what Republicans have accomplished while pushing to the right, Democrats are debating how hard to push in the opposite direction, on the minimum wage, on abortion, on health care, and on education. A party that was once afraid of being saddled with supporting government-run healthcare is increasingly okay with the word liberal and even voted in droves for a self-described socialist in 2016, and its 2020 hopefuls are leading the leftward charge. But rarely do we see such an unhelpful, untimely, and fanciful idea as the one put forward by retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens. In his op-ed on Tuesday, Stevens called for the repeal of the Second Amendment, as Crudy just read. The move might as well be considered an in-kind contribution to the National Rifle Association, to Republicans' efforts to keep the House and Senate in 2018, and to President Trump's 2020 re-election bid. In one fell swoop, Stevens has lent credence to the talking point that the left really just wants to get rid of gun ownership and reasserted the need for gun rights supporters to prevent his ilk from ever being appointed again, with the most obvious answer being vote Republican. This is exactly the kind of thing that motivates the right and signals to the working class swing voters that perhaps the Democratic Party and the political left doesn't really get them. And to the extent it catches on, which it could somewhat, given nearly half the party is on board, at least in spirit, it will confirm plenty of pre-existing beliefs about what Democrats actually want. And Democrats can't play the purity game like Republicans can. The median congressional district and median state are both red, and we still live in a country where a sizable majority of people very much believe in the Second Amendment, even as they would also might believe in checks on gun ownership. A bipartisan Fox News poll in 2013 showed 72% of Americans worried that banning certain guns would lead to erosion of other constitutionally protected rights. Stevens just signaled that at least one liberal appointee who inhabited the bench that could decide such matters really does want to take away one of those rights, and that's about the best Republicans could have hoped for.
Folks, we are the devil's advocates. This argument, it's just getting started. Repeal the Second Amendment? We'll see. Come back with us. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Call or text. The political party line is wide open for you, toll free.
Just give me my gun. Sorry, the law requires a 5-day waiting period. We've got to run a background check.
5 days? But I'm mad now.
Yeah.
I'd kill you if I had my gun.
Yeah, well, you don't.
Release the hounds.
I'm afraid right now for the future of my children's generation and those to come.
In this age of mass school shootings, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker offers the same bold agenda of the National Rifle Association.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
While Walker offers platitudes, he blocks meaningful gun safety legislation.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country. And I'm proud of my A+ ranking as a governor.
Walker weakened the gun laws in Wisconsin, and then he got $3.5 million worth of NRA support.
There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they thought about their own futures.
Scott Walker, you are not one of them. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
In this hot real estate market, don't pay 5 or 6% commission. With Homeowners Concept Realtors, you pay no more than 3.9% for full service. Homeowners Concept Realtors sell many more homes per year than the average agent. That's experience you can count on. If you're thinking of selling, call 414-258-7778 for an agent that specializes in your area for ideas on price, marketing, and staging your home. The more you know, you'll wisely choose Homeowners Concept 3.9% Realtors. HomeownersConcept.com.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
Baton Rouge Blues, no shelter from the stormy. I'm Michael Toscano, an attorney for white Baton Rouge police officer Blaine Salamone, who shot and killed African-American Alton Sterling during a struggle in 2016 that went viral and sparked protests, says he expects the city's police chief to fire his client. This even though State Attorney General Jim Landry announced no state charges will be issued against Salamone or Officer Howie Lake.
Their attempt to gain control of Mr. Sterling's hands were well-founded and reasonable.
But Baton Rouge Mayor Sharon Broome says that doesn't end it.
I'm directing the chief to immediately apply those accepted standards to this situation and take the necessary appropriate action.
Hence the job insecurity. There's been an awful lot of talk about porn star Stormy Daniels coming from everyone, it seems, except one at the center.
The president remained silent with no public appearances and on Twitter about Stormy Daniels' claim in the 60 Minutes interview, that lack of messaging turning into a hot topic at the White House briefing with Press Secretary Sarah Sanders.
The president has denied these allegations, and I don't have anything else further to add on that front.
You've also called him a counterpuncher many times. Why is he not punched back on this one?
I didn't say he punches back on every single topic. If he did, he would probably be addressing a lot of the stories that most of you write every single minute of every single day. He also has a country to run.
The closest the president seems to have come, a Monday tweet about fake news never being more voluminous. Bob Costantini, the White House.
Retired Supreme Court Justice John Paul Stevens is telling gun control supporters they should try to get the Second Amendment repealed. The 97-year-old writing in the New York Times, that would weaken the ability of the NRA to block, quote, constructive gun control legislation. Wall Street stocks closed sharply lower last hour, dragged down by falling tech stocks. The tech-heavy NASDAQ lost 212 points, nearly 3%. The Dow closed 345 points lower. The S&P 500 dropped 46. I'm Michael Toscano.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable. But how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Jeff Santos Show, kicking ass for the middle class from 12 to 3 p.m., and Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, politics and music, 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
The funeral for former Georgia Governor and U.S. Senator Zell Miller was held today in Atlanta. 3 former presidents on hand, Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton, who sought early advice from Miller.
But essentially, after all those hours of talking, his advice was, if you want to run for president, you need to call Paul Begala and James Carville and give shorter speeches. Well, I took 50% of the advice.
George W. Bush remembering Miller.
When Zell finished his second term as governor, his approval rating stood at 85%. Take it from me, that's not typical for a politician leaving office.
And one reason why.
While Zell was always a Democrat, he was never an ideologue. As he put it, you won't find average Americans on the left or on the right. You'll find them at Kmart.
Zell Miller died last Friday. He was 86 years old. I'm Michael Toscano.
Music is a bridge between the material and the spiritual. My name is Harvey Lauer, and I'm 82. As a blind person, you have to be aware that nobody can tell you what you can or can't do. You really have to try things. My folks got me a little radio in 1940, and that was the best Christmas present I ever got. When I was 11 years old is when I started to play music, play the piano, and then the accordion, and then the cello. My wife, who was also blind, was a good cook. When she died, that's when I started Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with a look at your headlines. A group of about 50 high school students from across Wisconsin are marching 50 miles over 4 days from the state capitol to Speaker Paul Ryan's office in Janesville in an effort to persuade the speaker to support gun control legislation. The students began marching on Saturday, and they conclude their march tomorrow with a rally at Traxler Park in Janesville that begins at 12 noon. All supporters are invited to welcome the students to Janesville. For more information, go to 50milesmore.org. That's 50milesmore.org. Outside today, clearing skies. Overnight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Sunshine tomorrow, highs in the low 50s. Then for Thursday, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 40s. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Welcoming my little buddy back.
Hey, man.
Took a few days off. Well-deserved for your wife. Dom, in the last hour, and before we reset the topic here, because we're going to start a fight, wanted to point out, we are nearly up to a threshold of likes, mathematically, numerically. You know how I don't like to be just below a threshold.
Yeah, like Facebook likes.
Facebook likes.
Yeah, I got you.
So do me a favor, those of you still on Facebook.
If you did not delete your account yet.
Like us, we will not sell your information to Cambridge Analytica, we promise. But we'd appreciate you liking us. It bothers me intellectually when we are just below a numerical threshold.
Yeah.
Looking for like number 6,000. Something of that sort.
All right. There you go, folks. Get on it. Crudy would be very happy.
I'd be moderately happy, but I'd be less worried about a numerical thing that means very little in the whole scheme of things,
Right.
other than the fact it bothers me. John Paul Stevens, retired Supreme Court Justice, made the case, writes the op-ed for the New York Times, repealed the Second Amendment. Now, he totally disagrees with the Heller ruling 2008. Heller basically, in a 5-4 decision, allowed for what?
An individual right to bear arms.
And before that, that was not the ruling of the U.S. Supreme Court. That wasn't the belief system. So when John Paul Stevens says, repeal the Second Amendment, what do you say immediately? You're taking my guns.
Oh, I say hell no. Based on what? I mean, we already have the power, obviously, to regulate. Can't have a sawed-off shotgun, can't have a Tommy gun, can't have a grenade launcher. So
used to not be able to have assault weapons.
Well, you could, then you couldn't, then you could. I mean, those
and
things,
that's the problem in the mind of John Paul Stevens.
Well, but then why not just leave the Second Amendment and repeal the assault weapons, that however they are defined?
Because as soon as we see the pendulum swing moderately back to the other side, or as soon as we see a Republican steal a Supreme Court seat from the liberal side or the, non-conservative side, we're subject to the whim of every Republican malfeasance. They can steal Supreme Court seats, and therefore, because they get the 5-4 advantage or they maintain the 5-4 advantage, suddenly the Second Amendment means what Scalia said it meant?
Isn't that how it's always been? I mean, you get a majority on the court, it is what you decide it is. That's
in Ohio,
point. That's why the candidates for that's why it's so egregious what the GOP did. It's because that's how important it is. And I would agree with Aaron Blake in his assessment. Man, you're giving the NRA all the ammunition you want. Stand up and say, yes, vote for me and I'll take away the guns. What?
That's not what he said. He said repeal the Second Amendment, which is something different. You don't have a constitutionally protected right to individually bear arms. You have the right to a well-regulated militia. And that meant something back in the states' rights days. But that means very little in the whole scheme of things today.
I'm supposed to defend myself, a smaller guy versus a big guy like you with a stick? I mean, what are you talking about? I can't have a gun, Crudy?
If I can't have a gun and you can't have a gun, yeah. Run away. Do what you got to do, man. What did people in the whole history of time?
You know what?
Every fist fight should end in a fatality.
It's not about
the smaller guy should have a gun.
The smaller guy should be equal, Crudy. If you have a gun and I have a gun and you come at me, I am able to defend myself. Now, do I need an AR-15 to do that? Do I need a bazooka to do that?
What
no.
if I want an AR-15? I'm a better shot.
To defend myself, do I not?
You can't even shoot straight with a handgun. You need a long rifle.
Nothing to do with it, Crudy. I have a right to defend myself. Do I not?
Sure, you can defend yourself every day of your life.
If I have a guy like you or a big fellow like Brian over here, 6'something, you know, coming at me, I'm 5'7", dude. What? I got to stand there and fight? I got to what? Turn around and run? What about my rights?
What did people do in the history of mankind up until you felt like in 2008 a Heller decision
created the Colt 45 and made it the great equalizer? Then guys like you couldn't bully people like me.
So we should be the Wild West and everyone should be fully armed and we should all be able to shoot it out because Dom's got a little insecurity about a big guy kicking his ass?
It's not about insecurity. It's about the right to defend me and my property, Crudy. And I'm not going to do it with a stick. Statistically speaking, a guy your size will have an advantage over a guy like me. So what, I just have to give in?
How about
That's your option? Turn around and run?
The Australians have effectively ended mass shootings. They didn't ban weapons. They didn't have a Second Amendment, but they didn't ban weapons. They just made it harder to acquire weapons. Set a higher standard. Is that permissible in your world?
Sure, but that's not repealing the Second Amendment.
But repeal of the Second Amendment would permit those things to happen without the whims of the electorate every 5 years, every 2 years, every 4 years. Every time the Republicans steal a Supreme Court seat and it goes 5-4 against and the rest of us have to live in fear because Dom wants the ability to protect himself from a big guy in a dark parking lot?
You have a problem with that?
Yes.
Why?
Because the rest of us have to live in fear of the random shooting, the domestic violence, the mass shootings, the AR-15s, because you feel like somehow...
I'm not saying I have to have an AR-15, Crudy. If you're going to ban guns...
But right now, that's the way it works.
You want the ability right now to have a local municipality...
I didn't say ban guns.
But if you're going to put it back to the states will be able to say, hell, in this state, you can't have a gun. Crudy, you're screwed. Dominic, you're screwed. You guys get into a fight. Crudy comes at you. Oh, really?
Didn't move. That's what a Republican would tell me. Exactly. If I didn't like the policies of Scott Walker, move my ass down the road, right?
Then move. But what about my right to protect myself? What am I supposed to do? Throw stones at you, Crudy?
Then,
you're going to come into my property, to my house, take my stuff, and I'm supposed to what?
And what's the likelihood?
Give it to you?
Mathematically, statistically, how often does that happen? That people come in and take stuff from your house?
A lot.
Is it usually when you're at home or perhaps when the house is vacant?
Does it matter?
So you feel like because somebody broke in your house, you have the right to kill them dead? That's your contention?
That's not all my contention. I have the right to defend myself
and
my property.
Yes,
absolutely.
Hell, this is my Mountain Dew. You take a swig. Do I have the right to kill you? Because this is my property. And if you're equating property to human life, I can kill you because you take my property down?
You're joking, right?
No, not at all.
Like you're going to shoot
But if
me
it was
for
your
taking
TV set... But if it was your TV set, then you could shoot me.
How do I know that you're just going to take the TV set, Crudy? How do I know that's where you're
going to stop? I might steal the VCR in the porn collection.
You might kill me and take it all, Crudy. How do I know? I'm not going to sit there and have a conversation with you breaking into my house.
How about you call the cops?
What you're going to take. Oh, the cops are going to show up in time? That's your suggestion? Call the cops? What about my right to defend myself, Crudy?
And the Second Amendment gives you that, or could you possibly go and take a process and legally buy a gun? Because no one said
I did that already.
The Second Amendment gives you permission to buy a gun. It gives the right wing.
You have the right to individually
bear arms individually. Yes. I get it. I know what the Heller decision was in 2008, but up until then, you had no personal right to bear arms. You had the right to a well-regulated militia up until 2008. Did you ever own a gun?
Yes.
You didn't have the legal right according to the U.S. Supreme Court up until then, yet somehow you still found a way to buy a gun legally.
I did.
And could it be with the repeal of the Second Amendment where we could have meaningful gun legislation like assault weapons bans?
You don't need to repeal the Second Amendment to do that.
Yes, you do, because
we already had these weapons were already banned, Crew.
In Ohio right now, they're pushing forth a ban on abortions. That's unconstitutional, according to Roe v. Wade, right? What's their purpose? To flip Roe v. Wade. And every time there will be an assault weapons ban, there will be an NRA, and there will be corporate money, and there will be people trying to turn the laws against the will of the electorate because they got more money. You know it is the way that it happens. If the will of the American people overwhelmingly is universal background searches, or checks, ban on assault weapons.
Do you think it's the will of the American people to repeal the Second Amendment, Crudy? Do you think that's a winning argument for the Democratic Party or for you?
I'm winning right now. Because if you think your personal protection somehow is protected by the Second Amendment, but that's only been in case law since 2008, next week it could change again. And then you lose the right to protect yourself, Tom?
You're going to take away my guns, Crudy? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm saying the people of Australia effectively bought back the guns of the people. They made it cumbersome to own a weapon. You had to actually demonstrate need and competence. That's all I'm asking for, need and competence.
No,
but
you're
that's not going to happen with an archaic statement about a well-regulated militia that you think somehow extends to your personal safety and ability to carry.
Under the current interpretation.
So now it's time to roll it back.
I absolutely disagree. So what then? So every state you go to, every municipality, every community is going to have a different gun law, Crudy?
Kind of like they have different marijuana laws, different alcohol laws, different speed limits, like they do now?
Yes. Are any of those things, alcohol, marijuana, are any of those enshrined in the Constitution, Crudy? No, they're
Life,
not.
Liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, bitch.
I'll give you that one. But no, the right to bear arms is in the Constitution.
The right to bear arms? Does it say that? Because I thought it was the right to a well-regulated militia. You have inserted your interpretation of the law upon the Constitution.
Yes, obviously, Crudy.
So it doesn't say what you say it says.
But it's lots of things don't say what they say. Where's the word abortion in the Constitution, Crudy? What are you talking about, man? It's about the modern interpretation. Is it a living document or is it not? Make up your mind, man. But either way, you Dems, you're going to run
So
on
it's
this,
been living since 2008, but prior to that, it wasn't.
You're going to lose. You're going to lose. You go after this, it's overreach. Don't do that, Crudy.
Folks, we're the Devil's Advocates. Overreach is my middle name. Come back with us, 844-967-2789. We'll get to you next, I promise.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property, or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009, or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Hello, I'm Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. In 1903, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters was founded, and our local union was founded in 1935 here in Milwaukee. During the last 115 years, the principles and values for the Teamsters Union have made many improvements for working families, creating a pathway to the American middle class. Teamsters have assisted families and communities in times of need. Currently, our active and retired membership are collectively working to benefit working families across this nation for retirement security and addressing long-term social needs here in Madison, Wisconsin, and in Washington, D.C. American workers do have a voice in the workplace. Let Teamsters Local 200 be part of that action plan for you. For more information, please visit us on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com. TeamstersLocal200.com, or give us a call at 414-771-6363. TeamstersLocal200.com or 414-771-6363.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I'm not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more. It's a no-brainer. I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Dom and Crude special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty, 608-284-9311, or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
The Devil's Advocates.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. What about simply raising the age of weapons purchases to 21 years of age?
We're sending 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds over to Afghanistan, and they're dying. They ought to be able to vote, they ought to be able to have a beer, and they ought to be able to buy a gun to hunt with as well.
Are you suggesting we lower the drinking age?
No. Can't they do that now? What is the age nowadays?
It's 21, sir.
We drink when we toast. We toast when we drink.
Yikes.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening. Please give us a call, 844-967-2789. Want to hear your take. We're going to be short on time, so we want to get to it right now. Kurt from Madison, you will be first. Thanks for calling, Kurt. What do you got for us?
Hey, Kurt.
Well, since I side with Crude on this, and I promised I'd stay calm to get the point out, to bring down the insanity of Dom's argument, let's just bring this into a pragmatic view. First of all, when the Constitution was written, especially that article, and Crude spelled it out in detail, is for a well-regulated militia. They never envisioned automatic weapons, period, end of discussion. So it evolved. And when Reagan got shot, we put through a law that prevented certain weapons to be used. So let's identify why someone would want a weapon. So you already stated you want a weapon to protect yourself because you're a small little squint. Though you could take a martial art class and improve your health and skills of self-protection.
Tell that to the 70-year-old woman, but go ahead, Kurt.
I'm just giving you a little bit of hard time. Second of all, the second thing you would want a weapon for is for your hunter, the person that wants to go out and bag their deer or whatever it is that they're hunting. And then there's the only third option I see here, short of all the cowards that won't enlist in the military so they can get their jollies off shooting an AR-45 or M60 or whatever.
Careful now, I enlisted.
So I did it for financial reasons because good old Reagan trashed the economy. But anyway, so if you categorize that, then you should be able to categorize what weapons are allowed to use in those functions. And furthermore, like getting a driver's license, we drive every day and we buy insurance for the car and we learn our cars because it's used constantly. Mm-hmm. You are not using your weapon every day.
Right.
So fine, you want your handgun, you feel you need to protect yourself, well, then you should have to buy insurance. And you don't need it to protect your property because you should have insurance for your property. You shouldn't care about your property. Let them take what they want. No point in endangering yourself, your children, or your wife because someone's taking your TV up the wall. Third, is mandatory training. You should have to go at least twice a year to prove that you're proficient in understanding the weapon, meaning taking it apart, putting it together, cleaning it, storing it, locking it up. If you can't take those steps, then Crute's right. You have no business having a weapon. No one does, period.
Get a pitchfork. Stab them if they come in the house. Kurt, thank you for your call. We're going to keep moving down the list.
Rob from Charlottesville, you are up. Thanks, Rob. What do you got for us?
Good evening. I'm here to put in my 2 cents.
Please do.
I'd like to start by saying I am quite liberal, and I don't believe repealing the Second Amendment is the issue. Is the best solution, I should say. I absolutely agree with the previous gentleman's statements. I didn't catch his name, otherwise I refer to him by name. And I was actually reading an article the other day that listing all the countries that have stricter gun laws than us, all the requirements and stuff. Japan has, I think 11 steps. You got to buy your own gun locker. You got to have the police come to your home and inspect your gun locker. You got to take a proficiency test with police on site. You can't own handguns. It's a lot of steps, and I think we should take hints from these other countries with further steps. I believe Japan is one of the most peaceful countries on earth. Their police don't even carry guns with them.
Thank you, Rob. Certainly appreciate it. Let's keep
more
going.
hurdles. Let me
go ahead.
quickly insert a thought. I believe when you're hunting, I think it's duck hunting, maybe it's goose hunting, they limit you to the number of shells you can have.
3 shells per, yeah.
Is that a reasonable Second Amendment limitation, Dom? What if I want to shoot those ducks with 100 shells?
Well, then you do it, and you run the risk of getting in trouble, I guess.
That would make me a responsible gun owner, Dom.
But we already have. There are limitations. I'm not saying there shouldn't be. Let's keep going. Let's get other people's opinions. Mark from Prairie du Sac, you're up. What do you got for us?
Hey, Mark.
I gotta agree with Dom on this one because I don't think we.
Nice
need
talking to you. Cut him off. No, keep going, man.
No, I don't think we need to repeal the Second Amendment to establish reasonable restrictions on the firearms because, of course, the First Amendment is regulated pretty heavily as far as your right to free speech. I mean, I can't use George Carlin's 7 words here,
right.
Otherwise you guys get fined. And the whole thing there is that can be reasonable restrictions on that, and that people should be able to have firearms for personal defense. I mean, I understand Dom's point there. That for home defense, if I was concerned about it at home, I'd have a 12-gauge, pump action shotgun.
Get a pit bull.
But I don't have anything in this house that I'd shoot anybody over. But if it's for self-defense, because it's just point and shoot then. But you have to be damn sure where you're pointing that rifle or shotgun or whatever it is. But I just think it's gone overboard with the assault weapons getting out there to the general public. There's been that we've had the experience now. We know that it's gone bad, and we've seen the experience of other countries that have limited those weapons. Just limit it to a 5-shot magazine or. Like my Remington 10-22, a 10-shot magazine, but you do not need 20 and 30-round magazines in these things.
I'm going to cut you off there, Mark. Thank you for your call. We got a fine guest coming next. He's Assembly Minority Leader, State Rep Gordon Hentz. And we got breaking news out of the state of Wisconsin. A judge has ruled in the special elections case. Got to stick around to find out what they ruled.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. You're all gonna die!
In this hot real estate market, don't pay 5 or 6% commission. With Homeowners Concept Realtors, you pay no more than 3.9% for full service. Homeowners Concept Realtors sell many more homes per year than the average agent. That's experience you can count on. If you're thinking of selling, call 414-258-7778 for an agent that specializes in your area for ideas on price, marketing, and staging your home. The more you know, you'll wisely choose Homeowners Concept 3.9% Realtors. HomeownersConcept.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
150 over 90, and I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure sounds like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from silent. Get back on your treatment plan or talk with your doctor to create a plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
Head to toe, everything's changed.
Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability and performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 59s.com. That's the number 5NINES.com.
Excuse me. I know you have a 9 o'clock, so I'll keep this short. I'm the business suit in the back of your closet. You wore me nearly every day before your office went, quote, casual. I used to be the CEO of your closet. Now I'm just that one intern no one ever talks to. I always thought you'd circle back with me, get granular, keep me in the pipeline. But nada. Nothing. Don't you remember the McKittrick presentation? You spilled coffee on me, and I still looked amazing during the breakout talkback Q&A. So, I think it's time for me to move on. I've got a great resume, and I absolutely crush it in interviews, okay? Let's make this a clean break. Shift the paradigm. The only thing I ask is that you think outside the box here and do this. Take me to Goodwill, where I can really make a difference.
Your donations to Goodwill create new jobs, training programs, and education assistance for people in your community. To find your nearest donation center, go to goodwill.org. Donate stuff. Create jobs. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Tune in to The Resistance, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next is the Stephanie Miller Show from 9 to 11. Then from 11 to 2, it's the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's 414 Wisconsin. Then from 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Mandatory listening. Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. Late last night, the Walker administration filed a request asking a judge to extend the amount of time the governor has to call for special elections, in hopes the Republicans can change the law to eliminate the special elections. Speaker Paul Ryan's office has once again said the speaker is not resigning after a congressman from Nevada said Ryan would resign in the next 30 to 60 days and be replaced by Steve Scalise. Election Day is 1 week from today. On the ballot is a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court and a referendum question that would eliminate the state treasurer. And the Bucks are in Los Angeles to take on the Clippers tonight. Outside today, clearing skies. Overnight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Sunshine tomorrow, highs in the low 50s. Then for Thursday, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 40s. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels.
Back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We are joined right now live via phone by State Rep Gordon Hentz. He's the Assembly Minority Leader. Gordon, welcome back to the show.
Hey, glad to be here. Good timing, huh?
Yeah,
excellent timing, sir. We were just mentioning off air, breaking news. Another Dane County judge has ruled Governor Scott Walker does not get the requested delay till April 6th to call for special elections. Of course, Gordon, Scott Walker wants to avoid holding special elections. And as you mentioned to me, this man just can't seem to catch a break in the courts.
No, and it's too bad. You know, I mean, the one thing you have to remember, you can't lose elections if you never hold elections.
Right.
Gordon, this has been one of the more galling examples of undemocratic behavior on behalf of Republicans, including your colleague, Speaker of the Assembly, Robin Vos. He's all down. Scott Fitzgerald, he's all down. Scott Walker's ready to sign a bill that hasn't been put to paper yet. And Gordon, all to avoid doing the constitutionally required calling of a special election. I mean, we got 2 vacant seats in the state of Wisconsin. As far as Scott Walker is concerned, that's a good thing.
Well, I mean, I think it is. Obviously, it's due to politics, and they certainly didn't want to hold special elections when you see that Democrats have flipped more than 40 seats since the 2016 election all over the country, including in western Wisconsin in the Senate 10th District. The reality, though, it was December, and all the reasons we heard from the governor to why he wasn't going to fill those seats was against the law, and clearly the judges have upheld that. And the way I read it now is the governor has till Thursday to call for the special elections, and they can then change the law, I guess. But if he doesn't on Thursday, I think he'll be in contempt of court. So, this is going to leave a pretty big stain.
Gordon, I'm not all clear that Governor Walker, or at least Scott Fitzgerald, has the votes on the Senate side. I've read reporting that Luther Olson's having qualms. Hell, Steve Nass is having qualms. I would hope many Republican senators, and of course all the Dems, would have qualms from this process, if anything else. I mean, it'd be different if they solved this in a different year, but in the midst of this failure to call special elections, this timing seems conspicuous in its malfeasance, sir.
Right, and I think you're going to start. I would question why elected Republicans in the legislature would carry the governor's water for a decision that he made. One of the arguments the governor used back when he announced he wouldn't be holding these elections was, well, the legislature is going to be done in February. Well, now it looks like we're here until April, and who knows if we'll meet beyond that. I mean, the other special elections that were held from open to close, those were pretty short elections, and if the governor had called for these elections right away, we would have these people in place.
Well, in a week from now is Election Day in the state of Wisconsin. These vacancies have been known to the governor. They left their roles back in December. Certainly 90 days lead time would have been sufficient to call special elections. But let me ask you, Gordon, if the U.S. Supreme Court rules against the current gerrymandered Wisconsin Assembly seats, and of course that also shakes up state Senate districts, it's quite possible you guys could have a long summer of resetting districts. Is it possible Scott Walker doesn't want these seats filled because he doesn't want more hurdles to jamming through another gerrymandered map in hopes to meet the judicial standard should the Supreme Court rule as such?
You're thinking clearly about some very possible steps that could take place. I'm pretty sure the governor's original intent was things aren't looking really good in a lower turnout special election. Democrats have been overperforming. We don't want to lose these seats now and let the Democrats' momentum carry into the summer and then the fall. I'm not sure he anticipated how bad this was going to look, but clearly this isn't the first time Republicans and the governor have chosen to change the rules because they don't like how the judicial branch interprets what the laws of our state are. I thought the judge this afternoon made some pretty clear comments about the fact that they are ruling on the law as it is, not how it's going to be after we change it next week.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Democratic State Rep Gordon Hensey is the Assembly Minority Leader, and he joins us on the phone. Gordon, I find this whole thing galling and I guess a little ironic. I mean, isn't Governor Walker and the Republicans' position that there's no need to have these special elections because we're almost done, and yet because of this case, they're going to call for extraordinary session whereby the people will not be represented in the discussion on how and when they will be represented?
And that, you make a great point there. I mean, the people with the biggest stake in things aren't going to have that opportunity. And of course, and we've been sort of discussing how to best get that input, given that it looks like they're just going to have the hearing in the Senate and not in the Assembly. But you're right; those people are shut out and have been shut out over some pretty important decisions.
So, Gordon, what's the timeline? Now, apparently, Governor Walker is going to have to call for elections by Thursday. Is any legislative action after that fact could that undo the special elections? The ones that would be called to fill these seats?
Because the news is so so new, I'm not sure. I know that the governor has to act by Thursday, but I don't, it would seem it'll be interesting to see what the play is legislatively, because, once he's got to call elections under the existing law, not the future law.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocate. Got State Rep Gordon Hensey is the Assembly Minority Leader, live via phone, responding to the breaking news. Another Dane County judge, this one Richard Neese, has ruled that Scott Walker must move forward immediately with special elections, no delay granted. Gordon, I got to ask you, as the caucus leader, one of these vacancies is an assembly seat, the 42nd. Are you aware of people that would want to be candidates as Democrats for this vacancy if a special election is held?
Yes. And in fact, we were actively recruiting for the seat for a while, and we've got as many as 5 that are interested. I think 1 or 2 of those more interested if it was indeed a special. But for all the speakers' backhanded comments about Dane County, this seat is partially in Dane County. So it's been a seat that's historically been pretty competitive given how the districts are drawn, and one that we expect to have a good chance in this fall. So I think that's one of the reasons why the governor didn't want to have it filled via special election and allow that Democratic incumbent this fall to have that advantage.
Now, you may not want to cast aspersions on Speaker Robin Vos, but I'll do so. I think he's being a bit of a bully in this case. The fact that he's calling this as some sort of judicial activism of a Dane County liberal judge, I think completely ignores the fact that this is a Scott Walker appointment, and he points to the fact that this judge, I believe Reynolds, her name, had endorsed Rebecca Dallett, and that's all the proof that Vos needs. Well, I think the Republican Party and Robin Vos and a lot of other Republicans are out there actively campaigning on behalf of Sprinnock. Want to get your opinion. Should the Wisconsin Supreme Court race somehow be a litmus test for validity of this judge?
Well, it should give you an idea of how important the Supreme Court race is this Tuesday, because one of the reasons these guys don't follow the law is they know that it will ultimately get kicked up to the state Supreme Court, which we know will do the bidding of, whoever is most aligned with their interests. And so the fact that there's an opportunity to restore some balance, some common sense, and someone who will actually do the work of the people instead of another rubber stamp to keep what we've seen over the last few years. I will remind you that in the John Doe decision, they made a ruling that was so out of line related to coordination with third-party groups that it is unique in our country. And, of course, the other way around, the legislature then changed the state law to reflect that court decision. So I think this may, shine a lot of light on just why we need someone like Rebecca Dallett on the bench.
Gordon, Fitzgerald made some comment about this kind of ruling creating chaos in the electoral system, or even Attorney General Schimmel saying that will cause needless voter confusion. Gordon, do you think that the citizens of Assembly District 42 and Senate District 1 would be able to comprehend a special election in this case, knowing that there's more elections coming up in the fall?
Yes, and I did catch the judge's comments that he was fully confident that those voters would be able to figure these things out. I think the comments by Senator Fitzgerald are, we have to remind people that this was a conscious decision, an intentional decision by Governor Walker made in December. So what's happening now is a result of his unwillingness to follow the law that was on the books back in December. It is the end of March right now. So for Senator Fitzgerald to complain, there's only one person to blame, and that's Governor Walker.
Gordon, I got to turn the topic somewhat. NRA has obviously been out there pushing. We've had young kids marching all across our nation. Some young kids are marching across the state of Wisconsin right now to Paul Ryan's district. Well, we know that this could be a federal issue, but we've seen your efforts and the efforts of the Assembly Democrats to bring meaningful gun safety laws to the floor, and we've seen them shot down by the leadership on the Republican side. Got to ask you, sir, how does gun politics factor in this fall? Is there a caucus position on what should be the future of gun safety in Wisconsin?
First things first, what's been happening all over the country and throughout the state by young people realizing the power they have and the power they have going forward, it has been inspiring. I think in our case, the issues that we've been bringing up and raising are really looking at things from a public health standpoint. Both Republicans in Washington and in Madison are saying it's purely a school safety issue, but that ignores the shootings in Las Vegas and Orlando or even in Oak Creek. And so if we're going to be serious about this, there are certainly common sense measures like universal background checks that 81% of the people of Wisconsin support. We know that there's, a disagreement on certain policies, but there's certainly some common sense measures that we can move forward if our goal is to reduce the risk of guns getting into the hands of those that are most likely or more likely to commit these acts. And so I think for those who want to see more sensible anti-gun violence policy, the ground is moving a little bit. It may not happen as fast as people would like it. But Wisconsin has a proud, tradition of recreational hunting. Gun ownership at our state is very high. There's always a different perception between gun violence that exists in a lot of our urban communities and gun ownership in rural areas. And so, like our national politics, I can tell you the Democratic caucus sometimes straddles those issues. But we were pretty unified behind things like universal background checks and meaningful evidence-based proposals that we think the public overwhelmingly supports and that are effective.
Gordon, there's a $100 million school safety bill. Now I believe it's law. Scott Walker has signed it. Unanimous consent effectively from Assembly Dems. I think they eventually got the same over on the Senate side, unanimous both amongst Dems and Republicans. I guess here's my question, Gordon. A, it's troubling to me that this new school safety will fall as a subheader of the Department of Justice and be run by partisan Brad Schimmel, also a darling of the NRA. It also concerns me, sir, that this legislation is completely insufficient, does not go nearly far enough, but yet somehow gives Scott Walker and his Republican colleagues a pass on this issue. I want to get your opinion. I know the caucus voted for it, but where do we stand on the school safety bill?
Well, I can say actually, because I have colleagues who didn't vote for it, so we actually had no votes in the assembly from our caucus for many of the reasons that you mentioned. The reality is there are a number of school districts out there who were certainly interested in having the resources to be able to make upgrades, whether it was an older building or a smaller district. I will remind people that Democrats in 2009 passed a school safety exemption for districts to be able to spend money on these upgrades. It was Governor Walker who repealed that in 2011, and now is only coming forward in 2018 because the politics of the year are determining it. It was far from enough. It's imperfect, and obviously the Department of Justice administration of it does not give me that much confidence. I mean, the other thing to consider is the funding can go to voucher schools and charter schools. So when you take $100 million and you look at $4,000 or $5,000 buildings, you're looking at $10,000, $20,000, depending on how many upgrades you need. So it is window dressing, but it is more money. Districts throughout the state certainly wanted it, but there's no doubt that it's certainly insufficient, and I don't think the governor should be doing the peacock the strut that he's been doing the last 2 days.
Gordon, final question. Brad Schimmel has adopted the proposition of Donald Trump, which is what? Arm the teachers. We know Scott Walker is similarly advocated back in 2012. Now that's not a popular position. And in the midst of his re-election campaign, he's tacked towards the moderate. Do you have any fear, sir, of a slippery slope that will eventually mean to arm teachers in Wisconsin? I can give you about 30 seconds on this one, Gordon.
Yeah, I do. Those two aren't the only two people that at one time or another have pushed that idea, and I think we really want to be cautious and push back hard on that idea that would add to any level of safety. And the best thing that we can do to restore common sense is to get a new governor and get a new attorney general this fall.
I concur, sir. Thank you so much, State Rep Gordon Hintz, a fine Dem, the Assembly Minority Leader, a friend of ours. Thanks for joining us here on the show today, sir.
Anytime, guys. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Gordon. We are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open, toll free. The party line, 844-967-2789. More Devils. Will be right back.
Wisconsin's doing terribly. The roads are a disaster because they don't have any money to rebuild them. They're borrowing money like crazy. They projected a $1 billion surplus, and it turns out to be a deficit of $2.2 billion. The schools are a disaster. The hospitals and education is a disaster. And when I see Scott Walker with his little motorcycle and puts his helmet on, and he gets off and he makes a speech. But, he's always riding like, he gets off a bike like he's a big tough guy. Okay, or a little tough guy. Their lobbyists, their special interests, and their donors will start calling. They gave you $1 million to your campaign, and this one gave you $5 million, and this one, you have to do it. You know what he's going to say? Okay, I'll do it.
Mr. Trump, you're using the talking points of the Democrats, and as we all know, that
I'm using facts.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Driving means
freedom,
exploration,
fun,
pride,
flexibility,
protection,
friendship, escape,
independence. Distracted driving means
danger,
recklessness,
irresponsible,
chaos,
police,
devastation,
injury,
tears, death.
Safe driving means staying alert and staying alive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hey everybody, I'm Daryl Ingram of News Talk 1510 WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, and I am the Director of Advertising and Marketing. The pride of our independent stands runs deep in all that we do here at the station. The thing that I know for sure is that you can count on the quality and independent production of client advertising, mirroring the quality and independence of our fine programming here at News Talk 1510. To learn more, contact me at 414-335-0851 or via email at daryl@newstalk1510am.com.
Hi, this is Brad Saug, owner of Zero Res Madison Carpet Cleaning. Zero Res is the best new technology in carpet cleaning. We have a patented process using empowered water, a high-tech process in which we force the water to act like soap. It doesn't want to stay in that state. It's jacked up and it's angry and it wants to hit the dirt and then it neutralizes. When we're done, all that's left in your carpet is just light moisture. In the end, you get the cleanest, greenest, healthiest carpet cleaning available. Call us at 848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it backward or forward. It's the right way to clean.
Well, Jason, I've got to tell you, you're pretty much everything this company is looking for in an entry-level candidate.
Great.
Your resume isn't quite what we're used to, but you've got a fantastic work ethic.
Thank you.
And I'm impressed by how you carry yourself.
So, should we talk about the job?
What? The job? Oh, sorry. Yeah, I have no way of recruiting or even meeting you. This interview didn't happen.
It may sound ridiculous, and that's because it kind of is. There's a huge pool of talent your company is missing out on. Meet the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. An ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
Man, we really could have used him.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
Is my kid in the right car seat? I guess she is.
There are probably rules on when to move up to a booster seat, aren't there?
Rear-facing, forward-facing. I think I have it right.
Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Are your children in the right car seat for their age and size? Don't think you know. Know you know. Go to safercar.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
The big and tall of political talk. Tom and Crute are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, 844-967-2789.
Want to thank our most recent guest, a fine one indeed, State Rep Gordon Hintz, Assembly Minority Leader, a fine Dem, a friend of ours. We asked him about the breaking news. Another Dane County judge, this one, Richard Neese, has told Scott Walker, no delay. You cannot delay to go and pass legislation to overrule the last judge who said you must call special elections.
Our friend Jesse Apoyan in the Cap Times also reporting on this piece, and here's a couple of paragraphs I think are interesting. Representing Walker, Assistant Attorney General Anthony Rosamano argued that voters in the 2 open districts could be confused if they were to sign nominating papers for candidates after Walker calls the special elections on March 29th, only to have those elections canceled due to a change in state law on April 4th.
So in other words, they still plan on sticking a fly in the ointment, canceling the special elections after the judge says you must call them, and the poor voters will be confused, but they're not at all concerned about their lack of representation, the fact that they're stripped of their constitutionally protected representation under both federal and state law, I would say, Dom.
Now, here's what Neese also said. It is certainly the legislature's prerogative to change the law, but until they do, it is the obligation of the court to enforce the law. Right now, the law states that election shall be held as promptly as possible and ordered no later than Thursday at noon.
Folks, mark your clocks. We'll talk about it on Thursday's show. More big show here, though. We got a friend of ours. He's joining us next. Where you been, crazy Lenny? I think he's been a little intimidated by the craziness of Donald Trump, but he's back. He's a seasonal sponsor. We're going to reintroduce you to Crazy E-Bike Lenny Mattioli and also our friend Christine Neumann-Ortiz, Voces de la Frontera. Going to talk about the new Trump census question. Are you a citizen? It was always on the census. There's only been small exceptions, but a lot of people are going to take great exception to this new requirement. We are the Devil's Advocates, Wisconsin's only Resistance Radio Network, 1510 AM Milwaukee, 1580 Columbus, Madison. Come back with us. The happy hour starts right now.
You know, they can go suck lemons.
Have you outgrown your house? Are you sick of apartment living? Not ready to buy but know you need to move? Hi folks, this is Tom Hartman for CCL Management in Middleton. You should consider moving up to one of the finer rental homes CCL Management represents. Unique houses and condos, always clean, most are pet friendly. Visit cclmanagement.com today to find your new home. CCL Management, Dane County's premier leasing and property management company.
Call CCL Management at 833-0009. That's 833-0009 or visit cclmanagement.com today.
I'm Andy Buck, and I'm proud to be union.
Tell me about the underground economy.
Well, the underground economy is essentially workers being exploited, and they're being exploited all over the state. They're working for no benefits, no retirement, and if you don't join your brothers and sisters, you don't respect your craft.
Andy, why should I hire union?
Crudy, you should hire union because you want the job done right the first time. We represent the highest skilled, safety-trained workers in the industries that we represent. Glazers, painters, and drywall finishers. Join us. Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 7.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling on it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
What did the buffalo say when he dropped his son off for school? Bye, son.
So take a moment to make your kid laugh, because dad jokes rule. Make your kid laugh today. Go to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You are listening to 1510 AM WRRD Waukesha, Milwaukee, and 1580 AM WTTN Columbus, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Census controversy, ousted Russians. I'm Ann Cates. California is taking the Trump administration to court over a question it plans to add to the next national head count.
California doesn't like the question about citizenship on the upcoming 2020 U.S. Census. The Commerce Department says the question will help enforce the Voting Rights Act, which protects minority voting rights. Opponents of the question say it's another attempt by the Trump administration to target undocumented immigrants, and a group of state attorneys general are asking the Commerce Department to remove the question also because illegal immigrants won't participate, which will result in a lower overall census count.
151 Russian intelligence officials have been expelled from more than 20 countries in retaliation for the poisoning of a former Kremlin spy in the UK. National Security Council spokesman Michael Anton says the U.S. and its allies have taken a stand.
The Russians really have never faced a coordinated multinational diplomatic rebuke like this that they have faced, and that is not 100% owing to this president's action, but it's certainly owing to his leadership in marshaling these countries together to all act in concert.
U.S. debt will be auctioned off to keep the federal government running.
The United States needs to effectively borrow $300 billion this week. The Treasury Department says the highest need in a single week since the Great Recession. The amount is required in large part because of the tax cuts that are taking effect this year. The deficit for the current fiscal year alone is going to top $1 trillion. With Uncle Sam more than $20 trillion in debt, the expectation is new borrowing will involve paying higher interest rates to lure lenders. Most U.S. debt is held by Americans in some way, but the largest overall foreign creditor is China, with which the president has been feuding over steel and intellectual property tariffs. Bob Costantini, the White House.
Losses for Wall Street today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled, closing down 345 points. The S&P 500 off 46. The Nasdaq down 212. I'm Ann Cates.
In this hot real estate market, don't pay 5 or 6% commission. With Homeowners Concept Realtors, you pay no more than 3.9% for full service. Homeowners Concept Realtors sell many more homes per year than the average agent. That's experience you can count on. If you're thinking of selling, call 414-258-7778 for an agent that specializes in your area for ideas on price, marketing, and staging your home. The more you know, you'll wisely choose Homeowners Concept 3.9% Realtors. HomeownersConcept.com.
The Resistance is live 7 days a week here on 1510 AM WRRD, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Tune in Sundays for Meet the Press with Chuck Todd from 11 a.m. to noon. Then it's the Jeff Santos Show, kicking ass for the middle class from 12 to 3 p.m. And Citizen Action's Battleground Wisconsin rages from 3 to 4 p.m. Get your groove on with Stu Man PM, politics and music, 4 to 6 p.m. with Stu Daniels. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
In addition to clarifying and simplifying their controversial catch rule, the NFL has made other changes for 2018.
The league's owners have approved making permanent spotting the ball at the 25-yard line on a touchback on a kickoff and allowing players on injured reserve to be traded. Among the rules changes tabled for now, limiting defensive pass interference penalties to 15 yards and the so-called Josh McDaniels rule, which would allow coaches on teams still playing in the postseason to agree to become head coaches somewhere else. Patriots offensive coordinator McDaniels agreed to become the Indianapolis Colts head coach in January, but then changed his mind and returned to New England in the days following the Super Bowl. I'm John Stolness.
Dunkin' Donuts is offering running shoes in time for next month's Boston Marathon. The Dunkin' sneaker features strawberry frosting-colored pink heels with sprinkles on the sides and coffee elements on the inside. The limited edition $110 shoes are available for pre-order online. I'm Ann Cates.
Hello, I'm Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters Local 200. In 1903, the International Brotherhood of Teamsters was founded, and our local union was founded in 1935 here in Milwaukee. During the last 115 years, the principles and values for the Teamsters Union have made many improvements for working families, creating a pathway to the American middle class. Teamsters have assisted families and communities in times of need. Currently, our active and retired membership are collectively working to benefit working families across this nation for retirement security and addressing long-term social needs here in Madison, Wisconsin, and in Washington, D.C. American workers do have a voice in the workplace. Let Teamsters Local 200 be part of that action plan for you. For more information, please visit us on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or give us a call at 414-771-6363. Teamsterslocal200.com or 414-771-6363.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The two candidates for Wisconsin's Supreme Court will face off in 3 debates this week, including one on Friday at 7 p.m. that will be broadcast live on Wisconsin Public Television and Wisconsin Public Radio. Election Day is 1 week from today. On the ballot is a seat on the Wisconsin Supreme Court and a referendum question that would eliminate the state treasurer. Make sure you are registered to vote and make sure you know where your polling place is. To find out if you're registered and where your polling place is, go to myvote.wi.gov. And you can see a free screening of the film called Gerrymandering about the redistricting battles this evening at 6 p.m. at the Bayview Public Library. Outside today, clearing skies. Overnight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels.
The following program is a presentation of DC Communications, LLC. Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we're sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour. And I'm feeling a little happier because we got a friend and a sponsor live via phone. He's Crazy E-Bike Lenny Mattioli. Lenny, where you been, man?
I've been selling e-bikes. Also trying to stay warm.
Well, that's just it. As soon
I
as
think I'd leave you guys alone. You got enough craziness to deal
come
with.
on. It's never the same without you, Lenny.
Lenny, as soon as the weather...
In other words, it's always better without me.
Lenny, as soon as the weather cracks 50 degrees, though, I know it's e-bike time. Buddy, I understand we got some nice weather going on next couple days, and I know you got a tremendous sale going on. We talked about it this morning. Len, tell our audience about it.
Do you want me to tell you? Okay, well,
yeah,
it's
tell them all about
an
it.
Offer that's advertised only and exclusively on Devil's Advocate radio shows. And we have a bike that sells for $2,000. It's called the Easy Motion Evo Eco Cross. I mean, you could look it up on the internet. The bike sells for $2,000. It's sort of like the gold standard of e-bikes, meaning it has a 60-mile range. It has a powerful 48-volt system. It has pedal and throttle assistance. Actually, this bike, if you tape a note to the handlebars before 10 o'clock at night, the bike makes breakfast for you. It's just a wonderful product, and we're selling it for $900. It's a 2017 closeout. I bought these bikes right. $900 for a bike you can compare to lots of other models and sizes and frames and specs for $2,000. So,
now,
Devil's Advocate customers only.
Well, Lenny, you got me on an Easy Motion. Mine looks like a mountain bike, and being an aging man, but not wanting to admit it, Lenny, the battery's completely hidden in the crossbar of my bike. Is these
same as this bike?
Yeah, see, that's pretty smooth.
So you can't really tell it's a down tube. And if anybody ever tried to steal that battery, they earned it. But you got the mountain bike version because you're a mountain of a man.
What kind of bike would I get, Lenny?
Oh, we have a cute little trike for you. This is such a cute little trike for our little Dominic boy.
Would you give him the training wheels? You know he needs them.
This truck is so advanced. It doesn't need training wheels. The wheels are square, so he can't hurt himself.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show right here on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, 1510 AM Milwaukee, 1580 Columbus, Madison. We're talking with our good friend, a fine sponsor. He's been our sponsor on the Devil's Advocates for years, especially when the weather's nice outside. It's Lenny Mattioli, Crazy E-Bike Lenny. And Lenny, I got to tell you, man, that easy motion, I feel like Superman when I ride that thing with the pedal assist, or I can, full throttle it.
Yeah, it's like the gold standard of e-bikes, the easy motion. We sell just about every brand. I think we have like 14 different brand names represented in our store. And there's bikes called Stromer, another one of the ones you could compare to. How does this bike compare to the Stromer? How does this bike compare to the Easy Motion? High bikes we sell. High bikes are really great, particularly in mountain bikes. But I like the Easy Motion. My wife Tara and I ride Easy Motion bikes, and we're happy with them. We could ride any bike.
Lenny, when I came out, when you fitted me on the Easy Motion, when we made our deal a few years back, I love the fact that you've got a safe trail for people to ride on. You're over on Odana Road on the west side of Madison, right off Research Park. I believe 6017 Odana Road. You got that big-ass new showroom, Lenny.
Yeah, 12,000 square feet of e-bikes. This winter, we had a lot of fun. We set up an indoor track so that folks could test the bikes inside.
Yeah, but people want to try them outside. And Lenny, you've got a safe place for them to ride right there, right up behind the shop.
Yeah, it's paved. It's no automobiles, of course. It's a City of Madison bike trail, and it's about a 100-foot walk from the front door.
Lenny, that's outstanding. Now we've done a little commerce. Let's talk about what other crazy stuff you've been up to. Lenny,
I've been up to trying to keep track of Donald Trump.
The president and his porn stars.
Imagine being able to describe Donald Trump in 3 sentences. I think that would be a fun contest.
We've tried to pick a porn name for him. If you were going to choose a porn name for the president, Lenny, what porn name might you assign Donald Trump?
I don't know. The hairdo kid. I don't know.
We actually had a competition on the station here, Lenny, and the winner was Teeny Mussolini. That was the one that we chose as the president's porn name.
Well, we may have our issues with Trump, but I don't think he was quite that bad.
Now, Lenny, I realize you're a happily married man now, but you were a younger man once upon a time. Did you ever frequent with the porn stars, Lenny?
The problem I have with that question is that was so long ago. When I was young, where that bike trail is we've been talking about next to my store, wild buffalo roamed that area when I was young.
Lenny, I thought you were still waiting for the glaciers to roll back.
Yeah, right. That's about it. My age is progressing. I'm trying to slow it down to glacial speeds.
Hey, Lenny, I got a question for you here, a serious question. Of course, import-export tariffs. The president's putting all sorts of tariffs, getting into a potential war here, a trade war with other countries. Now, I know a lot of these bikes are manufactured in other countries.
Manufactured primarily in Europe and Asia.
And so, any concerns on that from your end, bringing in these bikes? And another question to follow it up: why do you think it's taken so long for Americans to get used to the concept of an e-bike?
Okay. Regarding the tariffs, I just don't understand the policy. I get so frustrated. I question whether there is a policy. I'm certainly in favor of being fair to our workers and our commerce. Hell, I'm as greedy as the next guy. I mean, we need to be able to compete, but I'm not so sure I agree with what seems to be wild swing things regarding tariffs. I know we have to negotiate tough with our overseas trade partners, but I think you can negotiate in a tough way without being as it just seems to be there doesn't seem to be an underlying policy or consistency of plan. Now let's go back to your other question. Why don't you re-ask that, because the listeners probably forgot.
Yeah, Lenny, you're one of the biggest e-bike sellers in the country here in Wisconsin. Why do you think it's taken so long for the market here in America to catch on to e-bikes?
Well, I have to tell you a kind of like a story, and that's my opinion on why it has taken e-bikes so long when other Western cultures, never mind Asian cultures, other Western cultures, e-bikes are surpassing regular bikes in sales. Why is it taking so long here? Well, I know when I turned 16 years old, I got my driver's license, and that was it for the bike. Okay,
right.
I just begged Dad to use the car. I do extra chores, mow the lawn. Some of you guys don't remember that era. Then you went into the era where you'd ask Dad to use the car, and if he wouldn't let you use the car, you'd tell me you wouldn't help him work the remote control. We went through all of that. But even as young adults, we'd see someone on a bicycle with sort of a smile. And as a result of all of that, the nation has fallen into what I call the two biggest problems in the United States, Trump and policies notwithstanding. The two biggest problems in the United States of America are what? Where to park your car and how to lose weight. I mean, orthopedic procedures are up 120% since the year 2012. 120%. You know why? Because people are heavier. They're pounding those joints. They have to get these replacements. I went on a 110-passenger airplane the other day, and there were 11 people that had to use wheelchairs.
Wow.
You know, people have to get in shape. And so then the notion is, oh, well, if you ride an e-bike, that's cheating. I mean, e-bike, they don't get in shape. Well, that's just plain baloney. That's the worst BS you ever heard come out of Washington or anywhere. The e-bike, you ride an e-bike for 1 hour, you get the same workout. You burn the same calories as a regular bike. Why? Because if your skill allows you to ride a regular bike 12 or 14 miles, you'll ride an e-bike from 17 to 19 miles in that hour, or half hour than half that. E-bikes burn the same calories, but more importantly, it's a better cardiovascular workout. Do you hear what I said? Better.
Well,
let's look at the facts. Why is it better? Because why? You don't ever have to stand on your pedal and go, bring your cart up to its calculated red line. E-bikes are also more fun. Anyway, that's the reason. It's a cultural thing. It was like, you couldn't afford a car, or you must have some kind of a mental handicap because you're riding a bike. And that's completely untrue. Bicycle riding is fun. It gives you something else to do with a colleague or a date or your wife other than just going out to dinner.
Well, Lenny, Dominic does most of the joint pounding around here, but I got to bring your attention. You and I both read an article in the New York Times. Bicycling biologically, those that bike with frequency as they reach advanced age, they're biologically younger than people that do not ride a bike. Now, that may be true of other exercise.
It's such an astounding fact. It's a fact.
Well,
go ahead.
That's the only point I want to make. Lenny, riding a bike as you advance in age, and that's not always as easy as it once was. It gets a little easier up those big hills with an e-bike, but if you continue to ride a bike throughout your years, you will be biologically younger than your neighbor.
That's what the medical scientists say. But your comment wasn't completely accurate. It's not a little bit easier riding up that long hill. It's a lot easier. And you know what else? You don't have to be left behind. And if your colleagues are kind of maybe doing a little chest bumping as being able to ride faster than you hop on your battery assist bike and you pass them, and you'll pass that young lady or young man all clad in spandex training for the Ironman.
Our good friend, Crazy Lenny Mattioli, he's back on the air right here on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. He's got a hell of a deal on an e-bike, an Easy Motion, the one like Crudy has. Go see him, Odana Road in Research Park, 6017 Odana Road, west side of Madison. Tell him the Devil's Advocate sent you. And Lenny, as we close this out, I got to point out, man, you were driving a brand new convertible, brand new used 1969 GTO convertible.
Yes.
You were driving with the top down. Everybody we saw
Today.
Man, you had strangers walking up just to admire that GTO, Lenny.
Yep. Yeah, it's a 69 GTO. Great car, very fast. You know, it's a sort of a classic muscle car, but you got to always remember, on those muscle cars, they are fast. Don't try to turn. They don't turn like modern cars.
Lenny Mattioli, they don't call him crazy for nothing. Always young at heart.
Trying to save up enough money to be able to put a hitch on that GTO and tow my money to the bank.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon. Crazy Lenny Mattioli, go buy an e-bike. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
Okay, I gotta go. I'm in the middle of a big bike race.
Crazy e-bike Lenny, where you been? We've been missing your nonsense on this radio station.
Come on, Trump is all the nonsense you need. But Crazy Lenny's e-bikes has some real sense. 2017, top-of-the-line, cold standard, 60-mile range e-bikes, liquidation price to $900. 60 miles with both pedal and throttle assist. A $2,000 e-bike for $900. This bike is great.
That's crazy.
And it's not fake news.
Go see my friend Lenny, 6017 Odana Road, Madison. Tell him the Devil's Advocate sent you.
I'm afraid right now for the future of my children's generation and those to come.
In this age of mass school shootings, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker offers the same bold agenda of the National Rifle Association.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts and more importantly in your prayers.
While Walker offers platitudes, he blocks meaningful gun safety legislation.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country. And I'm proud of my A+ ranking as a governor.
Walker weakened the gun laws in Wisconsin, and then he got $3.5 million worth of NRA support.
There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they thought about their own futures.
Scott Walker, you are not one of them. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
Council.
I got to tell you, so when I first moved to Green Bay to play football in '92, I had never been to Wisconsin. But the funniest thing I thought, you could not buy hamburger patties without a dollop of butter on them.
Folks, just so you know, if you take a little bit of herb butter and put it in the middle of a patty and just kind of mold it around there, you get magic. I have one of my arteries right now.
How much did you say you weighed?
I'm gaining weight with my thoughts right now.
You're $3 bills and some change already, brother.
Guns, Butter, Economics, 414 Wisconsin, weekdays 2 to 3 p.m. on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
I was on Zero Res Madison's Facebook page the other day, and they have almost 2,000 testimonials from local customers. Apparently, I'm not the only one stoked on how cool this company is. A green technology that actually works better and doesn't cost more, it's a no-brainer, I'm in. We are starting our own Devil's Advocates revolution to free your carpets from harsh chemicals and soaps. Call Zero Res today and ask for the Dom and Crude special 608-848-9000 or schedule online at ZeroResMadison.com. Zero Res, spell it forward or backward, it's the right way to clean.
So, Jesse, why should someone buying a home pay for an agent when they can go online or call the number on a for sale sign?
Great questions. First of all, never call the number on a sign to see a home. That's the seller's agent, and they don't represent your interests. If they show you a home outside of an open house, you forfeit your ability to have someone negotiate in your corner at no cost to you.
Well, with interest rates still at historic lows, how can buyers still get a great deal and protect their rights?
Step 1, find a buyer's agent that you trust. Your agent will best find the home that fits your needs, anticipate problems, and negotiate on your behalf from offer through closing day. And most home listing contracts stipulate that the seller's agent pays for the buyer's commission.
Solidarity Realty. They're real, they're solid, they're honest. Whether buying or selling in Madison or Dane County, call Solidarity Realty 608-284-9311 or find them at solidarityrealty.com.
Do you love public education? Do you want to support your schools? Then you should support the people who make them work. You should support teachers and their unions. Teachers' working conditions are students' learning conditions, and when the school bell rings, it is crucial that teachers do not check their rights at the door. The ability to organize and advocate around issues that improve the quality of a teacher's workplace will increase opportunities for students and make schools safer for everyone. Stand with teachers, stand with WEAC Region 7.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show live on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network. Also on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio. And the party line is open, 844-967-2789, phone or text.
And we will get to them in a moment. First, the email that Kurt from Madison sent to me. Crudy, first, I'd like to apologize for the little squint comment when I was on the call. Even though I rehearsed it in my head, it came out wrong. Damn it! I won't repeat the error. The line was from the movie Quiet Man. It was Maureen O'Hara that made the statement, and yes, she was a babe. And when I was in the Army, the most dangerous guys I knew were under 5'10", and that was without a gun. And as promised, I donated. He, being a fine young man, Kurt gave some money to our good friends and sponsors, the People for People Corporation. However, in sort of an unfriendly fashion, Kurt thinks I say anyways too much.
Anyways.
Well, it's not supposed to have an S at all, according to Kurt. So apparently he has taken $1 off the donation. Kurt claims he was giving us, our friends and sponsors, the People for People Corporation, $33, chopped down to $25.
For too many anyways?
For too many anyways. About 8 too many anyways. Anyways,
Kurt, we appreciate it.
And Kurt goes on to say, kick Crudy in the shin every time he says anyways. And that would not be a friendly act at all. I would take great objection to you kicking me in the shin.
Just don't shoot me. 844-967-2789.
Anyways, let's get back to the phones.
Nick from Madison, you're up. Thanks for calling, man. What do you got?
How you been, Nick?
Hey, guys. Hey, I'm here. Hey, good to talk to you.
You got an e-bike yet, Nick?
No, but I plan to. Actually, this spring. Yeah.
They got a hell of a sale going on right now on the Easy Motions. They're fine bikes. I own one.
They look great. I moved here when I was 10, and I loved Crazy TV Lenny. Now I love Crazy e-bike Lenny. So yeah, that's awesome.
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm distracting from the point you're trying to make. Go ahead. I'm not filibustering you.
No problem. I was trying to talk about earlier. You were talking about gun control, as everyone is right now this week. But here's the thing. You know me. I'm conservative, Nick, and everyone says we're not trying to take your guns away, but you absolutely supported Australia's policy, which was gun confiscation.
It wasn't confiscation. That's a misnomer. People sold their guns back at fair full value to the government.
No. It was a mandatory turn-in. It wasn't voluntary. It was mandatory.
It's mandatory only if you were unwilling to meet the new standards of gun ownership, Nick. It's not a take your guns away. It's meet the standard of ownership, and if you're unwilling to do so, the government would buy your weapon back from you at full retail value. Come back with us. Christy Neumann-Ortiz, Executive Director, Voces de la Frontera, talking about the census.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. What about simply raising the age of weapons purchases to 21 years of age?
We're sending 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds over to Afghanistan, and they're dying. They ought to be able to vote. They ought to be able to have a beer, and they ought to be able to buy a gun to hunt with as well.
Are you suggesting we lower the drinking age?
No. Can't they do that now? What is the age nowadays?
It's 21, sir.
We drink when we toast. We toast when we drink.
Yikes.
It's hard to dream when you're fighting for 15. This is Pizza Box Mike for Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Check out fightfor15.org to get involved in the fight for 15.
Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property, or just need professionals to manage your real estate portfolio, call us, CCL Management, at 608-833-0009 or visit us on the web at cclmanagement.com.
If you're like a lot of companies, you know you need IT, but you aren't sure where to start. That's where Five Nines comes in. Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO. For almost 15 years, Five Nines has been providing IT solutions to companies just like yours. We'll show you the solutions that are right for your business and give you the roadmap to success in the future. Find us at 5nines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Promises made.
Have you paid into a pension plan or are currently paying into a pension? Join the Wisconsin Committee to Protect Pensions Saturday, April 21st for an update from Washington, D.C. and the first Special Select Committee. The meeting is at the American Legion Post at 3245 North 124th Street in Brookfield, Wisconsin at 10 a.m. A promise is a promise is a promise. This is an issue that affects everyone. Active workers, retirees, spouses, and veterans are encouraged to attend Saturday, April 21st at the American Legion Post at 3245 North 124th Street in Brookfield at 10 a.m. Meetings are also taking place in Sheboygan, Endeavor, Wausau, and Green Bay. Go to the Wisconsin-Milwaukee Southeast Committee to Protect Pensions Facebook page to learn more. Join us Saturday, April 21st, 10 a.m., the American Legion Post in Brookfield. It's not their money, it's yours.
We were wrong. They stole our pensions.
For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels with a look at your headlines. A group of about 50 high school students from across Wisconsin are marching 50 miles over 4 days from the state capitol to Speaker Paul Ryan's office in Janesville in an effort to persuade the speaker to support gun control legislation. The students began marching on Saturday, and they conclude their march tomorrow with a rally at Traxler Park in Janesville that begins at 12 noon. All supporters are invited to welcome the students to Janesville. For more information, go to 50milesmore.org. That's 50milesmore.org. Outside today, clearing skies. Overnight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Sunshine tomorrow, highs in the low 50s. Then for Thursday, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 40s. For Wisconsin's Resistance Radio Network, I'm Stu Daniels.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, the happy hour continues. I'm happy to announce we got another fine guest and a friend, Christine Neumann-Ortiz, Executive Director, Voces de la Frontera. Christine, my bad. Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show.
Good show with you all.
Thank you.
Hi, Christine. Wanted to talk about this proposal we're seeing reported widely. Donald Trump is proposing in the next census to include a question about the citizenship of those being questioned Christine, what's your opinion of this new attitude being espoused by the Trump administration?
That it's an effort to disenfranchise voters, especially because around 80% of immigrant families have, with someone who's undocumented, is in a mixed immigration status family, which means someone close in their family, a brother, sister, husband, wife, parent, does have legal status, whether lawful permanent. That right there is going to have a chilling effect, because already under the Trump administration, it's been very clear that there has been a systematic persecution of the immigrant community, and and racial profiling. So there's just no question that there's been an uptick in deportations and separation of families, a real effort to go after people, and in that environment, of course, people will be reluctant to answer questions from the census, which means that as a community, which is irrespective of status, because on a census, you're just taking a census on who's there. Immigration status doesn't matter. That's how it's been run so far. It's just the population. What's the population that lives in the United States, and what districts, and so forth. And based on population, you then get political representation and you get resources. And so what this will do is it will scare away people from participating in that survey, because they're going to be afraid that they're identifying themselves. And even if you're a U.S. citizen, you will be afraid for a family member, because the administration has been very aggressive about going after data. And I hate to say this, but even in the same way that under Germany they used government data to persecute Jews and others, and there's been so no, people will not participate in that program, and it means marginalizing communities that are already families and need resources and more political representation. So those entire communities will be adversely affected.
Christine, I saw a breakdown. Trump districts, counties, voting districts that voted for Donald Trump are overwhelmingly white. And districts that vote for Democrats, or at least have most recently, have a preponderance of minority voters, including potentially Latinos or other people that are undocumented under current immigration status. Do you think this is purposeful? Do you think this is with intent to drive the voting dynamics, to drive the census to a conclusion where whites are counted accurately, but Latinos or other undocumented families are not?
Absolutely. It's part of undermining democratic structures, representative structures. And like I said, even taking Wisconsin as an example, we have a high concentration of Latinos in certain areas. And those are largely, as people know, often urban areas. In our case, Milwaukee has the highest concentration. And within that, again, even though Latinos represent, the vast majority are actually U.S. citizen, you still have many families that have someone who is out of status, and that right there has a chilling effect. And so there will definitely be less participation, and that will mean, again, not just the resourcing of those communities for programs and schools and things like that benefit everyone in that community, but it'll also be tied to political representation. So it's definitely part of continued gerrymandering, but at the national level.
Christine, I've got to ask you, I've seen some contradictory reporting in differing news accounts today. The question of citizenship has been on the census prior, but I have heard differing reports. One says that it has not been on the census since 1950. Another one I read said it was exempted in 2010, but had appeared on prior census. Can you clear this up for our audience? Christine, how common has this question been asked on prior every 10-year censuses?
I can only speak from my direct experience. That would be a question from someone in our new American program, which is our citizenship program, where we help folks prepare for the citizenship exam. But I know that from my own personal experience, that we participated in the last census that was taken in 2000, and we were a very important voice in doing that, and saw the importance of it precisely because the citizenship question was not on there. And having an organization that's trusted in the community to encourage people to have their voice heard was that they don't have to be afraid that this would adversely affect them was very important. And we knew that because for all the reasons I said before, that there are important resources and political representation that are tied to that. And that's how we know, actually. I mean, one of the things is the census is super important to even get a sense of what's happening in our community. For example, in the last two census in Wisconsin, it is the Latino community, and this is for Milwaukee in particular, but we know this is true for rural areas as well, but that has sustained the population numbers for Milwaukee, which means if we didn't count them, the Milwaukee would have actually dropped off. So it is like there's a debt. It's keeping Milwaukee vital, the Latino community, and part of that has been tied for the ability to have people participate in the census. And we know in the rural community, it's obviously an ever-growing and critical, important part of those communities, and keeping them vital as well. It's a young population. It's a working population. So in industries where they have a labor shortage in the rural communities. And they're being driven out right now by the current hostile environment. There has been a movement out of Wisconsin that we're seeing and that people are feeling, certainly in farms, but even in small areas and different businesses. And this is part of the whole politics. The whole politics is actually to create a hostile environment, to also have people, not just if you're going to persecute them, but you're going to make them feel so unwelcome and threatened that they're going to decide to leave on their own. And I think that's just part of the broader politics.
Folks, you're listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show on Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, 1510 AM in Milwaukee, 1580 AM in Madison. Christine Neumann-Ortiz, Executive Director, Voces de la Frontera, joins us on the phone. Christine, I guess I'm a little confused as to what the conservatives are thinking in this regard. I mean, if they're asking for what the citizenship is, are they suggesting perhaps that there shouldn't be representation? I mean, there's obviously lots of legal immigrants that are here that, although they may not be able to cast a vote, are paying taxes and are still represented in a very real way by our representative republic.
I think that it's pretty clear that from the rhetoric that has been used and the policies that are being aggressively pursued by the Trump administration and that are being aggressively kind of forced, that are trying to force on local and state governments, such as the anti-sanctuary bill that we just recently defeated here in Wisconsin. It's a major victory of the immigrant rights movement. It's kind of a quiet victory because they let it die quietly, but the fact that it died when they wanted it moved is significant. This was the same state bill that we defeated back in 2016 that would have allowed any public employee, including law enforcement, to profile people, to question them about immigration status, and then to have them transferred over to immigration. So basically being an arm of immigration and legalizing profiling. So that, and then with penalties for anyone who did not want to participate in that program. So that was successfully, because of the threat of a 2-day general strike, Day Without Latinos and Immigrants, that was ready to move if that moved forward any bit more. that died in the state legislature when it definitely had feet underneath it and it was moving forward. And that was a quiet victory, but it was in part because of the alliance with the Wisconsin Farmers Union, I believe, representing small and medium dairy farmers that united with our cause and mutual cause, and then also with the fact that they saw that here in 2017, consistently, Wisconsin workers and their families and the broader community are willing to risk their jobs and take lose a day's wages, which are important for many people, to come out with their families and friends and coworkers and supporters to in these statewide general strikes known as Day Without Latinos that succeeded in defeating the 287G program and driving Sheriff Clark out of office. And that was the victory, another major immigrant rights victory right here in Wisconsin that was achieved. So I think it's like, but these are the politics that Trump is consistently driving through his threats to pull federal funding, and this is through Sessions and the people that he has in office that have a very clear ideology that when they say make America great again, I mean, these are folks that have ties to hate groups, to, Trump pardoned Arpaio, who was found to have by the courts to have profiled people, obviously Latinos, through policies like 287G, and was told to stop and yet continued. So they do believe in going back to a system of laws where you had one group completely subservient to the other. And I would say it's a dangerous path because it's more than just even, I'd say, Jim Crow, but part of Jim Crow and what inspired an even more dangerous aggressive movement was that we see emerging, which is the far right, was a celebration of violence and hatred and persecution, and that is, the white nationalist groups were removed by the terrorist list by the Trump administration. We've seen his response to his quick defense of the murder at the protests. And actually putting some of these folks who, like Arpaio and Sessions, who had associations with KKK or folks like Kobach and others that are in the White House and giving advice. And so a lot of what's being created is about creating fear and persecution and based on a fundamental degradation of an entire group of people and defining what is American as their definition of white, of a certain religion, of a certain color, and we've certainly seen what that brand of politics, the danger of that brand of politics if we allow it to grow.
Christine, before we go, I wanted to get your take. It's been some time since we spoke. My understanding, you were amongst over 20-some people who were arrested near Speaker Ryan's office protesting the lack of action on DACA. Heavy fines, almost $500. Wanted to get your take. I know there was a fundraiser to help mediate some of those fines. What can you tell us about it?
Yeah, it was my honor to participate in that action. It was on March 5th. It was part of a National Day of Action to support the DREAM Act, because one of the things the Trump administration has done among ongoing onslaught has been the repeal of protections for immigrant youth, dreamers, as well as others like refugees who had temporary protected status. And so this was a National Day of Action to put pressure on Congress to pass a DREAM Act, a bill that would restore protections for dreamers. Speaker of the House Ryan has failed. He's in a leadership position, can call a vote on this, has refused to do so. In fact, has been aligning himself with the most far-right legislative proposals. So we had a youth-led walkout involving 400 high school, primarily high school, some middle school youth that are affiliated with VOLSIS, Youth Empowered in the Struggle, that organized their peers and came to Ryan's district outside of his office And then there was a civil disobedience action blocking the main the main street, not highway, there, of which I was a part of, 25 of us. Many teachers were there, and I think significantly the two candidates running against Ryan, Randy Bryce and Kathy Myers, were included as well. In the case of Randy Bryce, his campaign has really gone viral and really represents a viable threat to Ryan in this next election. And I think for both, but him in particular, it was very important, because I think one of the reasons that we ended up with Trump and all that is because we do need stronger leadership. We need stronger. It's not just a kind of a Republican platform that's been anti-immigrant and hostile for a long time. It's also that weak Democratic leadership. And so I think to see that kind of progressive championing, unapologetic and strong, and standing with the majority of people who shared the same opinion of all party lines, actually, I think is the kind of, we need strong leadership, and that's what's going to it's about solutions too, not just beating back the ugly.
Christine Neumann-Ortiz, Executive Director, Voces de la Frontera, thank you so much for being a guest on our show today.
Thank you so much. Quick plug, May 1, Day Without Latinos is going to be in Waukesha for another day, but save the date, everyone.
May 1 will make a day of it. Thank you, Christine Neumann-Ortiz. We are the Devil's Advocates. Coming back, phone lines open to you from here to the end of the show. 844-967-2789. Texting works as well, but not when you're driving.
We are people of compassion.
We don't serve their kind here.
I'm afraid right now for the future of my children's generation and those to come.
In this age of mass school shootings, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker offers the same bold agenda of the National Rifle Association.
Make sure you remember in your thoughts, and more importantly in your prayers.
While Walker offers platitudes, he blocks meaningful gun safety legislation.
It's really an honor to work with the NRA, not only in my state, but across the country. And I'm proud of my A+ ranking as a governor.
Walker weakened the gun laws in Wisconsin, and then he got $3.5 million worth of NRA support.
There have been men and women of courage who've been willing to stand up and think more about the future of their children and their grandchildren than they thought about their own futures.
Scott Walker, you are not one of them. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
My name is Adam Holmes, and I'm proud to be union.
Adam, you're Director of Training for Painters, District Council 7. What do you do?
I'm making sure that we're investing in our members. We're providing the safest and best trained painters, glazers, drywall finishers, and trade show workers in the industry, and we also do that at no cost to the taxpayers.
Why hire unions?
Because it costs less to be safe. We keep the contractor on the right side of OSHA and help keep the workmen's comp rates affordable. Join us, Painters and Allied Trades, District Council 7.
Tune in to The Resistance, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next is the Stephanie Miller Show from 9 to 11. Then from 11 to 2, it's the Tom Hartman Program. At 2 o'clock, it's 414 Wisconsin. Then from 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Mandatory listening, Wisconsin's Resistance Radio.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only ordering classic corner tavern.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, This is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C. Take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! Is now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D. Help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Open road, here comes the Heffley family.
You've packed the smartphones, headphones, tablets, water snacks, cooler, sunscreen, bikes, skateboards, games, videos, sunglasses.
There's no room for people in here.
Just don't wimp out on the most important thing.
Deep fried butter on a stick.
No, seatbelts. Whether it's a long haul or short trip,
It's a win-win situation.
never give up until they buckle up. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
Thank you for listening. The Devil's Advocates Radio Show, Wisconsin Resistance Radio Network. Last segment of the day. Phone lines open 844-967-2789.
And thank you, Christine Neumann-Ortiz, Executive Director of Voces de la Frontera. Always a fine guest. Dom, you know, Donald Trump thinks he's got the money to build this wall, and it ain't coming from Mexico. It's coming from the defense budget. Apparently, that $700 billion annual expenditure, just a big slush fund for stuff Trump can't pass legislatively. You just go get the money from the Defense Department because, you know, all those murderers and rapists coming across the border.
And some good people, I'm sure.
Well, Dom, he implies it's a national security issue and therefore rationalizes why he's using the defense budget as a slush fund.
Let's get to the phones. Wisco Paul, you are up. Thanks for calling, man. What do you got for us?
Hey, afternoon, boys. Good show again today.
Thanks, Paul. Don't know why we couldn't have you on yesterday. I kept trying.
Hey, you know what technology is? Sometimes it works good and sometimes not so good.
Kind of like
Hey,
Tom.
Oh, boy. I'm not going to touch that one.
Yeah, see?
Hey, well, I would miss Dom, to be quite honest. You guys go good together, you know. What's your feel on Milwaukee's turnout for the Supreme Court race? I'm sure hoping that myself or Rebecca Dallett wins that thing, because right now the GOP is basically doing whatever they want in the state, and at least you would give it a little balance in the Supreme Court there. And I appreciate you guys trying to get the vote turnout in Milwaukee, because I think that makes a big difference. But
Well, Paul, we're all across the state now. A week from today, Wisconsin Supreme Court election. You should know that, Wisco Paul. Everyone should vote, I think, for Rebecca Dallett. I don't think she's any sort of crazy liberal. I think she's fairly moderate down the middle. She was a former prosecutor, after all. The judicial activist, his name's Skrinock, or Scrotum, or something of the sort. Thank you, Gordon Hintz. Thank you, Christine Neumann-Ortiz. Thank you, Crazy Lenny. Thank you all for listening. We'll do it all again tomorrow.
We have searched every square inch of this base, and all we have found is porno. Porno, porno!
Wasn't true. It was a Scott Walker, a Scott P. Walker. I'm Scott Kevin Walker.
I gotta steal that bit. Do you own a rental property, or would you like to partner with a rental investment team? Call the pros you can trust at CCL Management. Rental expertise second to none, a general contractor on staff to direct repairs and improvements, and real estate brokerage services tailored to the small investor. If you're ready to invest in rental property or just need